story short, I finally got it working with getting it in the right locations and stuff. And then turns out that I did it send and receive, and I'm like, the cold wallet can't get the data back to the blockchain, you knucklehead. So I'll go back and do it later, but I didn't want to keep you guys waiting. That's the 3 minutes. But what I think we'll do, this time works for me. We'll just do it once a week on Thursday, and then whoever can join can join. I think what we should do is everybody has a lot of questions, and I'll just have you hammer me with them, Brett, because you've been gathering them, and then I will respond, and we'll see what it takes us. You're probably going to discover that a lot of the stuff that is a concern, the answer is in progress, and here's the status, and that just reminds us that we need to have better communication. So I'm going to talk to Todd a little bit later today and get a not only schedule of who is going to be available when, not just available, but on Telegram, sort of like rules of the road for kind of office hours and stuff, and also regular updates from the dev team. I don't know if that's daily or weekly or whatever, but I'll talk to Todd about that today.
At this point, it should definitely be daily, because it's definitely...
No problem. Then I'll tell him we need daily updates, and we'll start getting them from today.
Yeah.
Yep, no problem. Okay, so why don't we jump right into? Do you want me to update you guys on status of things, or start with questions? I'm pretty flexible.
So start with I would say maybe how are the things with the new server and the new miner and the new wallet and the API. Let's go with... Sure.
Okay, let's take those one at a time. Server, we're talking about 231, but 3 users reported. I saw the one, I thought it might have been a fluke, and then I saw the second, and then the third guy came in. I said, I'll forward this to Todd right away. Somebody reported that they got less under 231 on Ice Mining's pool than under 230. So in response to that, I said, okay, let's put a link up to 230 back on the site, because if it performs better, we want to have that option available to the users while we figure out what's going on there. And then I have Todd checking on why there's a performance delta, or if there even is one. So he's looking into that right now. So that is the current status on the server. And on the wallet, we have been inching closer to the GUI wallet release, painfully so, because it's been ready for, in my mind, like an eternity. Probably a day or two could have like shaved off if we had a better handoff process, which is something that I'll put some energy into today, and we'll keep iterating it. But anyway, we will get it done. I would say today, as soon as Joshua, the web developer, who's right now the only single guy who can update our website, that's the holdup, is just we can't get a hold of Joshua. So as soon as he comes online, he's going to drop those files into the website, and then we can put out announcements that say,
okay,
hey,
so
download the GUI wallet.
So that what you just said right there is an issue. I mean, I don't want to skip ahead, but having one person on the website, kind of, we need to figure out.
Talk to Michael, please, and
I've been talking to Michael, and I'm not getting what I'm supposed to be getting out of it.
All right, okay, then ping me, and I will intermediate and solve whatever the issue is there that's blocking direct communication. But yeah, I will ensure that we have redundant web development resources so that we don't have this delay going forward.
Yeah, just continue, and we'll get to...
Okay, sure. So we are hours away from releasing the GUI wallet. We've had dozens and dozens of people testing it for a week or perhaps more. So I feel pretty confident about it. Every piece of feedback that was reported from anybody has been done, except for a handful of things that we chose to leave for the next version. Stuff like easier to recover your seed words and stuff like that. You know, nice to have features rather than must have features. Right now we have nothing, because it's a command line wallet that is really hard to use, even if it's technically functional. So the imperative is to get the code released, and we will. And then Duck is already starting to work on the updates, the things that we left off. There's going to be a bit of a judgment call there on which feature enhancements we do to the wallet versus putting that effort and energy into going to the mobile, which is the next logical step. There's an open source product called Iron Belly that is available for iOS and Android for Grin. And so what we're going to do is port Iron Belly to make the Epic mobile wallet. And that's probably not more than a week or two of work to get it out, at least where people can start playing with it, because it reuses a lot of the same lessons as Doc already knows for the mobile wallet. You know, it gets easier the second and third time you do something, and that's what we're gonna have here. So GUI wallet today, and I wouldn't be surprised if people, I mean, I would say 2 weeks is probably like worst case, you know, because stuff takes longer, but it could be, you know, it could be a quick thing. I don't know, because Doug's been working on the GUI wallet, and I haven't wanted to distract him from the mobile, but I can get a firmer read and get that out as far as what we can expect. Go ahead.
As far as the GUI wallet release and you saying it being in a few hours, can we not make a community post and also get Josh to update the website and maybe have, because again, the epic.tech/downloads, I'm hearing from one person that it's run by one person is run by Michael.
Joshua reports to Michael, so that's the hierarchy there. Michael has overall responsibility, but Josh is the guy pushing the buttons. Michael's the brain, and Joshua is the hands, if you want to think of it that way.
Is Joshua in this group right now?
No, he's an Upwork contractor, so he's just, you know, he does what he can.
Why does he have access, whereas that should be like almost an immediate release type thing, like, and if we're only relying on one person to an extent.
Yeah, well,
let me jump in here for a second. I think from a production standpoint, what we're experiencing is probably a growing pains issue, where normally a release of something has a release schedule, a coordinated project manager, if you will, that allocates time for when things need to roll out, so that there's some sort of ability for somebody like Michael or Josh to be available when the release is going to come out. From a development standpoint, if you develop something and say, great, let's shove it out, without getting all of the pieces in line to be able to do that coordinated release effort or promotional effort, you see these pains that we're seeing now, which is a failure to get everybody in line, especially in a decentralized project where you don't have people working around the clock or people readily available. So I think setting some expectation of a 24-hour, 48-hour notice when something's going to go up, so that all the people can do the jobs that they need to do, might make sense, as opposed to saying, "Oh, great, it's done. Let's press," and then we're sitting here saying, "Why isn't somebody around?" So this is just me looking at it from the other side, saying that the guy Josh and Michael are in a different time frame. People are around the world. You're unable to get in touch with them, and now we're sitting here disappointed.
I have a suggestion. I can just tell you what the answer is here. Somebody go to Grin Forum and look at their cadence for releases, and just apply that to our own situation. You know, as of T minus whatever, we do this. As of T minus whatever, we do this other thing. And so we have a pre-written cadence and a choreography of what everybody can expect.
I think this goes into what I was asking for a while ago, which is a set rubric or rule set for the development process, and have that be published in GitLab, so anybody working on the project knows what the kind of consensus rules are for how development's going to move forward, right? If it's greenlit and there's consensus on a bit of code, great, then that triggers an X timeline for something to be released, so that we're not in this confused state. This isn't a lawyer thing. This just goes back to my enterprise software development days with Lucent and with the military. So I'm drawing on that experience from before, not necessarily this.
I want to make it clear.
Yeah, no, that's the point I'm trying to make too. Is basically,
Can somebody mute your mic? If you're not talking, please mute your mic. Okay.
I need to say something.
Sure.
Can you guys
Oh, okay.
hear me?
Okay, yeah.
Uh,
Who is speaking, please?
It's your,
Yuri,
Oh, hi, Yuri. Okay,
uh,
welcome. Go ahead.
we already have an action regarding that. Instead of making an immediate release, sorry, someone was making noise. Instead of making an immediate release, we are going to make a release candidate in that triage group. And after the release candidate is approved by you, we are going to officialize the release. We can have a 24 or 48 hours window to
Yeah,
approve
like beta
a release
test for
candidate.
2 days and then release to everyone.
Yes, that's the action I agreed with Todd already. We discussed that yesterday, and I want to make this clear for everyone here. So if this helps solving the issue, I'll be happy to.
So on that note, we've got a wallet update or a wallet release that's coming, and I'm logged into GitLab now, and I see no notice that there's a GUI wallet being worked on. I see no issue or updates that the code is being worked on.
The issue list has a tag called doing. That tag means that we are working on a given issue.
Sure.
Yeah, hold on, Yuri. Let me just speak to his point because I think I have the answer here. The answer is that Duck has been working independently and not using GitLab, so we'll just tell him to use GitLab for future stuff, even if he is working independently. So just whoever wants to, somebody please take a note to.
Well, I think it's perfectly fine in a community of decentralized developers to work on things at their own desk and have things ready to go. But if it's something that's planned to be released, there at least needs to be an issue or something where it's tracked and the entire community can know that it exists so they can try to collaborate with that person if need be. And this is,
yeah. I mean, like that's what I've been trying to agree upon. Also, is trying to get a structure of organization because it's a little chaotic right now, and I feel like we're not all on the same page, and there could be a lot easier way of being on the same page, just with simple structure, more or less.
well, I agree. And, this is, I lost track if this is my 12th or 13th launch. And it's okay that these growing pains are happening. Everybody goes through these growing pains, and some of these pains I've seen before, and it doesn't matter how many times I bring them up or how many times they get addressed. They just seem to happen naturally, and that's a natural consequence of a project that's decentralized around the world with different languages, different time zones, different ideas of what a problem is, as opposed to having a centralized development structure. But what does work well in a decentralized project is having one place where all of the developers in a community can go to see what's going on. And that, for the most part, has always been a Git type product, right? Whether it was GitHub or it's GitLab now. And what that means is that the developers in the community have to self-regulate themselves to put that information there. Nobody can mandate somebody to do it because there is no actual organizational structure with hierarchy to be able to enforce something. It has to be an agreed upon thing that people agree to do. And if somebody's not doing it, then maybe somebody in the development world can try to do a little correction and say, hey, you're working on this. Why don't you put that into GitLab? And then it becomes community policed as opposed to, there can't be mandates. It's impossible under a decentralized structure. Does that make sense?
I just want to add that I sent in the chat right now a link to our GitLab board, and it shows the planned issues as to-do items, and the items we are working on as doing items. It's a nice board with all the open issues, all the planned issues, all the work in progress issues, and all the closed issues. So if you want to see, to follow how we are doing, it's available, at least for our side.
Can I ask a question? Because issue GitLab 40, uh, which was sort of a fix, which is where I kind of was just tinkering around with the server webhook configuration and the peer-to-peer bits capabilities, changing it from 15 to 6, increasing the timeout. Certain settings that in the new release of the server and the miner toml, a lot of these options have seemed to be left out. Is there a reason for that? Because originally, you know, I went from basically the original version. If you, here, I'll list it and list the link. Basically, I was getting great hash rates and acceptances on 100K difficulty, and then with the little basic server just tinkering around with it, obviously it wouldn't work with the pool because the pool, you know, subjects you to different settings. But with the new release, whatever was removed, and ever since then, I've heard from many individuals saying, you know, my RandomX hash rate is even worse than before. Like, you know, I was getting, maybe if you look at the chart, it's like 90% of my shit went through, 2,600 acceptances and 22 rejects and 71 stales on CPU over like a 12-hour period. And after the new release, those settings in the server toml were removed. So if we're having a GitLab issue and these things should be looked at, can I ask one of the developers, why were some of these settings removed? Are they now incorporated into the miner? And why are people getting now even worse hash rates on CPU mining prior to the last release?
So what it sounds like you're wanting to do is dig into the nitty-gritty of some of the issues that are going on, and that's kind of changing topic from general overall communication and how communication moves forward. Do you mind if we save your...
Yeah.
As an example that maybe something happened, and there just wasn't, maybe something wasn't fed back in a communication process. And so if we look at your question from a communication failure as opposed to a technical what's going on failure, I think that keeps us on track with that. Do you agree?
Yeah.
So I guess the question on the table is, to the developers, did something actually happen? And if so, where or when was it incorporated in this open issue? Because this still says it's an open issue, right? And if the issue was solved, it should be a closed issue with how it was solved, right? I mean, that's how Git is supposed to work, correct?
Supposed to.
Well,
I
nobody
don't have-
answered the issue even, so.
The only answer I have regarding this issue is that we don't know yet, and we couldn't prioritize investigating that because there were always more urgent issues.
No. I don't disagree. I'm not looking at the what was addressed with this problem, or even if it was addressed. The question is from a communication standpoint that, you know, there's an issue that's open, something changed in the server toml without any indication of why it changed. And that's a failure point, right? Is that what you're talking about, Method?
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to get at, is basic communication and just, yeah, that structure.
Yuri, did it change? Yuri, I thought you said it didn't change. Did it in fact change?
That's what I'm trying to say. If something changed in the server toml, either it wasn't our team, or which is more like there are three options. Either nothing changed, someone else that's not from our team, which I doubt, because I don't see any commits that are not ours in the logs. And the third option is that some of our developers changed something without making it explicit to me. If that's the case, I'll have to have a talk with them and try to figure this out.
What I think
Yeah.
happened is just that those options were simply removed from. They were commented out anyway, and basically at the start, they just removed them from the TOML file, so you can still add them manually, but they're not there anymore.
So this brings me to the topic of revision control and making sure that files or versions of files that are released have some form of indication in the name or commented out at the top of the file of what version they are. Continuing to have epic.exe is problematic because we don't know which epic it is. However, within the server TOML, it could indicate what version it is and what's changed between the last version and now if people are too lazy to go to GitLab or if it's not listed on GitLab. So if something was commented out, there should be a comment that says that something was commented out. I know it seems redundant, but as we're trying to troubleshoot issues in the network, not knowing what's changed between previous version and current version has to be maddening for anybody that's trying to figure out what's going on or anybody that's trying to dedicate brain power towards making the product better. I know it was very frustrating for me when I set up a lab here and there was no revision control and no indication of what was going on. And while I'm trying to provide what little resources I have left in my brain from my development days 2 decades ago, I got incredibly frustrated. I know Jay Long got frustrated as well, and we both agreed that revision control and documenting and publishing revision control is important. So I don't care really what the process is for communicating, so long as it's an agreed upon process that everybody follows and that it's comprehensive, and that be published within GitLab on what the rules are for revision control, so that a new developer tomorrow can walk in, give their resources as a community developer, and not know what to do. Right? That's how a good decentralized development team works. Is they set up a set of agreed upon community rules for development and how the code is going to be published. And we just haven't seen that yet here. And I think staying on the topic of good communication, the development team itself, and as it works with new developers, really needs to agree on how that moves forward. And the sooner that happens, the better, right? I mean, that's
Right.
Yeah.
About communications too, can we get more like more reports from what is happening, and like every days or every couple of days?
The place that you should be getting the information of what's happening is straight from GitLab, as opposed to a press release from the dev team. I think it's onerous for the dev team to not only have to do the work that they're doing, but then also have to publish some one-pager or some summary. Everything that's going on should be available in GitLab for people to be able to go and look, right? Isn't that fair?
Some of the things that are being released on GitLab, however, are almost like pre-releases that aren't available to the public, so they're not announced prior to.
Hold on, there's multiple parts to this. So Brett, why don't you take responsibility for, not everybody's going to want to go to GitLab and wade through stuff. Like, why don't you keep on top of GitLab, and then you can put out a daily update with, hey, this is what's going on right now, and and people can check the GitLab if they want. But I think for most of us here, I mean, like going to GitLab is not going to be as useful as a quick digest. And if you're on it and then just circulate a digest that we can read quickly, that'll keep everybody up to speed. So if you can serve as that bridge, I think that solves the best of the both worlds, because the dev team doesn't have to do anything except work with GitLab, and you'll get familiar with stuff and you'll know in a very granular way what's going on.
I just see that as problematic in creating a centralized source in method to be this distribution for where things are in development. You're creating a responsibility for somebody that may want to go on vacation or may want to take a day off. There has to be one spot for that, and the tool that the developers have that every other project uses and every other community accepts as being the place to go and find information is in their Git repository. And, you know, sure, there's a learning curve.
That's the problem, though. There is a learning curve, and
that's a learning curve, though. I mean,
but for the public, you know, we have to kind of convert that part of the piece to the public relations. Okay, this is what's kind of going on thing, and there's that.
Our user base is never going to GitLab. I mean, users know.
We're conflating multiple things here, right? You're confusing and conflating user base of miners, users, speculative traders. You're conflating all of them into one. And the issues that Method is having have to do with software releases that impact his ability to mine, right? That's a mining community, and I swear there are smart enough people within the mining community that know how to go out and read GitLab, right? As for the people that are just using it as a merchant services or payment processing thing, right? They don't give two shits about the sausage of how it's being developed. They just care that it works, right? So yes, the guy that just wants to go out and use Epic Cash to buy a candy bar is never going to go to GitLab and doesn't care. And
I personally don't use GitLab. I like to, you know, go on, but yeah.
Well, the point is, the users that need information to help them modify changes, or that they're thinking they need to modify changes. We've got multiple Telegram groups of people that are helping them each other, that are helping each other configure their servers and their miners, and that works great. Those are Telegram groups. But as I talked with Todd about a couple of weeks ago, that Todd and Yuri and the development team, their job is to document everything that they're doing in GitLab, period. And to ask them to do anything above and beyond that, of then doing PR and promotions, is not where they spend their best time, right? And asking one person to be responsible for that in Method is not a good response. So, you know, whether there is an automated function that Todd and I talked about, to where when something changes in GitLab, if they hit a button and that gets pressed out to you know, the appropriate Telegram group that updates somebody on what the change is, there is a method upon which we may be able to push that out into a digestible form. But putting that responsibility on one person to go and check what's going on 24/7.
That's a much better way. I mean, if we can do it automated through GitLab, and I think your point is well taken. I was conflating the audiences. I mean, you know, a user going to GitLab, just, you know, period, non-starter. But the mining community, absolutely, and that, you know, that user base can be expected to go to GitLab and would be fine with a digest-based approach. And automation is the way. So I think as long as we're being friendly with the communication to the users and not placing any demands for a learning curve on them, I think we have the solution here. So I walk that back. Your way is much better. Let's do it that way.
There needs to be a synchronization between GitLab and the English translation of, hey, what's going on, kind of thing at the same time.
A non-dev person cannot look at commits and say what happened. I mean, you need a dev to do that. You don't understand what the commits are.
Well, look, and Todd and I talked about this, right? Part of the development team's job is not only documenting what's going on, but also putting a comprehensive description in what's going on in GitLab so that it's not just written in code. It needs to be written in readable language.
For example, look at the commit for update to 2.3.1. There's no description. There's just commits and it says it changed. That's it. How can we know and make a list of what changed?
Yeah, I agree. And that's one of the points that I brought up a couple of weeks ago, and that was supposed to be addressed, but
This is going to be addressed as well. I talked to Todd yesterday about this, and the changelog under Debian changelog will contain all the release notes. Besides the release notes being published on GitLab, they are going to be in the changelog now.
okay, so what's wrong with putting that in a description or even in version 2.3.1-1? Why can't it be under the update or under the commit or under the main project subheading and in activity, right? And comments under events. There's multiple places where this can be published, right? But it has to be consistent and it has to be done.
That's where it gets confused.
The changelog is going to be part of the package, so it's always available for people who install it. I'm going to add it to the Windows zip as well, and it's going to be copied to the GitLab releases page. And if you want me to put it in the commit message as well, it's not a problem. I can add it to the commit messages as well. The point is that we are going to try to spread this in more places besides only the releases page in GitLab.
Sure, and I'm looking at releases, and you do say here this release improves the block propagation situation.
W2.
Right? What is that? That doesn't say what the original issue was. All it says is it improves the block propagation situation. Well,
yeah,
this should be.
I'm going to improve the
right.
The writing of the releases. I agree with you. This is not very good.
Thanos, can you explain your found issue where basically there was a public release on GitLab, but nobody else in the public realized it, and it was out for days, and you're able to collect.
Yeah, I mean,
an enormous amount of
that's not gonna happen again because it was the N1's fix and they didn't release it because it was only partial. But since some people compiled it before the real release, they got a huge advantage.
Yeah, you were getting how many blocks a day versus how many other people?
I got about 5,000 in the first few days.
Yeah,
I know someone who got 2,000 with 210 Ti.
That's a problem we have with public.
Yeah, but that's fixed though. The problem
indeed it is, but it is a problem we have when our development is completely public, right? We had this testing branch, which was not officially the new version. And
on GitHub, you can hide them from people.
On GitHub, I don't know if that's possible. On GitLab, I'm going to check.
What's the difference between GitLab and GitHub anyways? Because again,
GitHub's now owned by Microsoft. That's one of the main differences.
Yeah, GitLab is open source.
So I'm on GitLab/Epic Cache, but I don't see any. Like if I go to randomx-rust randomx, I as an individual that uses Windows and doesn't use Linux, I cannot follow this. So
well, let me just walk you through just briefly. I'll take 5 seconds to do it. Okay.
Sure.
Top left-hand corner, there's a home that says project. Okay. And if you click that, that'll give you a drop-down menu of details, activities, releases, cycle analytics, and insights. Okay. So if you click on details under project, that's where you get all your folders, etc. If you click on activity, you're going to see what events have happened, what's been pushed, what hasn't been pushed, issues that are open and closed, etc. You go to
Okay.
releases, now you see what the current version is, insights, etc. Now, on that left-hand side, if you see issues, it says 22. Click on that. There's 22 open issues, 19 closed issues, a total of 41. And all of the issues that are reported or should be reported and tracked that may or may not be worked on are supposed to be stored here. And before somebody posts a new issue, they're supposed to go through existing issues in order to see if they're not duplicating an existing one. But that's just development rubric on how to use GitLab.
And
Right.
GitHub is basically where the devs upload.
Well, that's done here as well. Pretty much the same functionality in GitHub exists in GitLab. The difference is GitHub, which used to be open source, got purchased by Microsoft, and so a lot of people with trust issues didn't want to put their code on GitHub anymore because they were afraid Microsoft was going to steal it.
GitHub was never open source, but they always were friendly towards open source, but they were bought by Microsoft, so people got.
Can somebody post the GitHub Epic Cache?
You want a mirror in GitHub? You
The
mean?
GitHub, I have the GitLab one.
There's
I
no
don't-
GitHub.
There is no official GitHub for Epic Cache. If someone created it, it's not ours.
Okay.
If there is one, we should report it before they infect someone with it.
All right, because I thought we were using both, but okay.
No, just GitLab.
Only
Huh.
GitLab.
All right. Just trying to get on the same page here because, again, there's confusion amongst people that are kind of technical, non-technical, those that are confused of who has different roles and, just trying to communicate better and get all on the same page.
We could
Yeah.
have a
Thank you,
Telegram bot. A Telegram bot that posts automatically stuff in a channel that fetches this stuff from GitLab.
Which,
Well, yeah, that's what I was talking with Todd about a couple weeks ago when, he and I kind of butted heads on the way that the Epic Triage board was being used and what information was being stated and how it was being stated without it actually being documented somewhere. And we kind of went toe to toe on why and how important it is that it be documented properly. And unfortunately, things kind of hit pause because there's been a lot of fires people are putting out, and being able to effectively communicate the fires that are being put out versus doing PR to the world
right.
took a back burner. But Todd and I agreed that the right way was that there needed to be some form of porting of the information that goes into GitLab into an automated process for publication. But it's the same rule as any computer programming: garbage in, garbage out. And the first step needs to be consistent, good, detailed information of what the issues are, and that needs to belong in GitLab. If it's not there, it doesn't matter.
Speaking of consistency, and I'm just jumping ahead a little bit here, just based on Telegram groups and butting heads or whatever, what is the exact difference between Epic Triage and tech issues tracking, for example?
Excellent question. Epic Triage used to be Epic Algos in the pre-mainnet launch. And that was where the devs and a few of the testers would go and we'd kind of talk to each other about what was going on and whether or not the algorithms were working properly. Post-launch, now it's Epic Triage, but there seems to be a lot of duplicate boards.
Yes.
And
Triage was used to choose, to talk between issues and choose if it was worth to open an issue on GitLab for it or not. And the other issue channel was for just talking about problems. And
Right
But
now,
we also used to have Epic Issues, which was like, okay.
Right
and-
now,
Can I jump in here and just give a little background?
Max, hold on. Yuri was trying to explain something. He's just away from the microphone. Let Yuri talk.
Right now, my team and I only look into at triage and the GitLab issues. And even at triage is more of on the house courtesy than an obligation from us. But we do look at it every now and then. But real issues should be tracked on GitLab. And if you need me to focus on an issue, mention me with a link to the issue, and I will evaluate the prioritization.
Yuri, I know you're active, as is Howie, in mining troubleshooting and part of the Epic mining community. Whenever something comes up, the two public groups, I'm just curious, is that followed along as well in a sense? Like, do we need?
I don't really look too much into it. It's too much to track. It's better if I centralize my tracking into.
It's too much for him to track based on the number of repetitive questions or statements or complaints that may be user error or not. And so I agree. I kind of stopped looking at that group as well because it was just too repetitive. And 400, actually there's over 1,000 messages since the last time I looked at Epic Mining Community versus at mining troubleshooting versus, all the other groups that are out there. And so it can be pretty overwhelming.
And that's another thing too, it is overwhelming, and Telegram only goes so far in how we can kind of track some of these issues. So is there a way to consolidate? And I think everybody that's currently in this Zoom group needs to be in one group together, including, adding Todd Lewis and also adding Awe and, a few others. Everybody that's in this group right now is on basically the same kind of page and track, and that we all kind of agree that there needs to be better communication, obviously. But I think one group that kind of just...
Can I make a suggestion that may solve this?
Absolutely.
Look, have any of you heard of the Riot platform?
With two T's or one?
Have.
One, RIOT.
No.
Now, Tezos uses Riot. There's the general main room, and then in a nice, concise app on the left, you can have a mining group, a troubleshooting group. It organizes it very clearly. Whereas for me with Telegram, I use Telegram for personal communications. So now I've got all these Telegram groups for Epic, but I have my own personal conversations. They intersperse with each other and make it really confusing. So there's no centralized location. There's no obvious place or hierarchy or infrastructure.
Yeah, but that's why we should have multiple levels of issues in the triage is the last one before going. The most important stuff should only go in triage. So since it's the only place the devs look at, we shouldn't chatter in this channel.
Let's organize that then in the spreadsheet. Let's make that group and say, okay, this is the purpose. This is where all first priority issues go, because a lot of these groups go without purpose, and we don't really know where to post what in a sense of being. And we also have Discord with support, mining in general, and all of that.
It's just spread out everywhere.
There's too much almost, and I can't keep up with it. Yeah. If I'm perfectly honest, and it takes me, I've stopped reading the Epic mining community, as is the Epic troubleshooting community, because it's all the same shit. So I look at triage, and I communicate with 10 to 12 different people individually that I'm on page with most of the time, and it's kind of like, okay, we still don't kind of know what's going on. Even that's what I'm trying to create, organization out of chaos.
Yeah, well, there's two products that I've used in the past on launches. One of them is Slack, the other one is Riot, and those both work well. They're kind of the same product, but out of that, I prefer Riot over Slack. I definitely prefer Riot and Slack over multiple Telegram groups.
Riot
Like,
is a
I-
Discord clone, though.
I'm sorry?
I want to add that the ultimate source of truth should be GitLab, the GitLab issue tracking. So more reports could go as comments and things like that. And instead of discussing in the group, you could just link the issue or the comment in the issue. I think having GitLab as the ultimate source of truth is both more well organized, and it's going to provide a public place where people can follow the updates on the issues and discussion.
From a developer standpoint, GitLab is definitely, like gold, but how do we translate that without having simple conversations and triage at the same time about, hey, this is, like a new issue, but, what can be done with it, like talking real time to the devs, getting communication, how do we get that?
Maybe make a read-only channel from the dev. Only the devs can write in it, and nobody can just answer and annoy them, and they can just post update on that one, so we can read and not mess with them.
Well, I think going back to what I said about 10 minutes ago, which is setting up the ability for the devs to push when comments in GitLab get made and that gets distributed, it, maybe needs to go a little bit more to the front of the line. Obviously, fires still have to be put out, but in the meantime, if we all agree that a goal of better communication is a good idea, which I think we do, I don't think there's any dispute there. What we've kind of dropped into now is trying to figure out the minutia of how that happens. And we could probably be better served saying, all right, we can have a group specifically set up on that versus not getting to some of the other issues that have been brought up.
And I don't want to bother the devs like all the time because I know they're busy and they're catching up with issues, but at the same time too, there needs to be kind of this back and forth internally so we can externally tell the public, we got this coming up, hey, there's a new changelog. Also, the website's been updated.
Listen, the preference I have is that we don't have to tell the public what's going on because they already know, because we've set up the tool that pushes that out and that we don't have to announce a damn thing. The idea is to be decentralized, not centralized, right? And
we want to get
pushed on the
involved.
website, but nobody's there on the website refreshing every hour to see if there's a new release. I mean, even if it's automated there, we don't look at the website if it's not announced.
The difference between a new release, the difference between a new release versus, hey, somebody has already seen the error that you're seeing in your server log are two different things. Where somebody's saying, hey, when am I going to have a mobile wallet, right?
That's too far ahead. Yeah.
Well, no, the point is, communication-wise, if there's a question, hey, is there a GUI wallet coming?
Yeah.
And somebody asks that, there's a link that can be pushed, or there can be some post that somebody references, goes to GitLab and says, here's the issue, GUI wallet, here's all the information. And you don't have to sit there and be responsible to spoon feeding them that information. You can just send them the link.
A lot of people in the public community, though, again, are uninformed of that, as am I. Like, I didn't even realize there was a Epic Cash Wallet group, which, like I've been kind of requesting to be added to, and then I find out, 2 days later I'm added to it, and it's already
don't feel bad. I've been testing that wallet for about a month now, and I wasn't a part of that group. It was just something Duck and I were doing individually. So
yeah, and Duck's great on that, and the public does need to be informed about some of this stuff. And not everybody's going to go to GitLab. Not everybody is a crypto smart ass and like us, like together combined, we have that knowledge, but we need to translate that into public record basically as well. Like, get this shit internalized together, and then have J-Long pin something and say, hey, there's a new fucking release in the community. Go update now, and then we'll deal with people one-on-one as the new release comes in, and if there's any bugs during that new release, we'll figure it out. But not everybody, again, is going to go to GitLab and whatever. They're going to need to go to epic.tech/downloads as well to get the official release, because that's what has also been told in the past. So it just further adds discourse and confusion, where things need to be a little simpler for the public, but at the same time too, I see your point as in, you know, having the devs and GitLab and, you know, all that stuff, but there needs to be a translation and better communication, internalized and externalized.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think what it comes down to is just the function of best use of time for the devs versus training the public to go and look at a spot where that information can be pushed from GitLab out without a lot of pain. But that goes towards, you know, the getting information out to the community in order to make them aware of the new issues that are going on, so that we can generate some buzz about good things that are coming down the line, right?
I mean, I'm an admin in both the public groups, and I'm lost on where we are, where with, you know, some of the releases and stuff. As you know, Max explained it earlier. That's great, but we need to, you know, if we're hours away from releasing the GUI wallet, we should make an announcement in the public forum, you know, or the public group for 500 members to, you know, get some fucking hype back. You know?
Well, there's one. So this morning I hosted a small seminar on how to effectively communicate to the public without taking Epic Cash from what it is, a peer-to-peer cash transaction system, right? Without moving that into a regulated realm, which is an investment contract or investment offering. And so when there's statements that are made to the public, however they're made, when they're made by somebody from the foundation or somebody involved in the development of the foundation, care needs to be taken on how those messages are delivered, and avoiding certain phrases or avoiding, you know, wanting to hype something is key. Now, we had some storms here in Houston. I lost power earlier, and internet went out in the middle of that, but I am planning on hosting that seminar again tomorrow morning, and I'll do that 10 a.m. Eastern time, and I'd like to get more people involved because there were only 4 people that were on that call. But I think that's something that everybody should hear and be a part of, so that when they say, hey, there's this new wallet coming out, they don't make mistakes of saying, hey, there's this new wallet coming out, which is really going to increase the value of Epic Cash, and you should all go out to an exchange right now and enjoy the mass rewards you're going to have.
That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying, you know, in a sense, the community needs to be updated as the internalized community is updated, because Thanos, myself, Emma, like, we all have no idea what's kind of going on.
Sure. Well, I agree in that there's no clear roadmap right now on the development structure, right?
Yeah.
And a clear roadmap of, okay, launch, CLI wallet, mining, pool mining,
API.
Exchanges, APIs, etc. There's no clear path that shows these are the goals and this is where we are on those goals, right? Because the logical course is, from a wallet standpoint, if you're looking at development down a wallet branch, you have command line wallet, you have GUI wallet, then you have mobile wallet, right? And then after that, merchant integration and merchant services. That's where we're going, right? And here we are on the development path for that. And I would love to see that development path.
Problem is
upgrades.
we're with delays, and the public keeps expecting for something to come out, and they're asking questions as to, well, when is it going to happen, et cetera, et cetera.
And the answer is, this is a decentralized project with developers all over the world, people that have other jobs, and there is no deadline for something to happen, right? It's going to happen when it's going to happen.
Not to interrupt here, but one thing that makes it interesting is being a decentralized project versus a centralized one is that we don't owe anybody anything because they're not investing in our project.
But
They're not investors. They're not owed a certain time for something being released.
well,
Guys, I'll
Yeah.
need to excuse myself. I have some other things to address
Sure.
here. So if you decide anything without me here, please let me know in Epic Triage later, okay? I'll be glad to accept feedback.
I had a question just before from MinerStat West. He was asking why is there still two cuckoo in the API?
Two Cuckoo in the API.
There's when you read the API.
Cuckaroo and Cockatoo?
Yes.
We didn't fully remove everything from Cuckaroo from the code base, just enough for it to stop working. So
Okay.
Cuckaroo is not going to be accepted, but we didn't go over all the code base to remove it because that would be costly and it wouldn't be worth it.
Would it be possible just to hide it from the API? Because it still says diff4.
It is possible. It is possible. We can remove it from the API. I'm going to
Okay,
open
thanks.
an issue and have that. Okay. So bye. Thanks everyone. Everyone have a
Thanks,
good
Yuri.
one. I don't know.
Thank you, Yuri.
Thanks, Rick. Can we pause for a second? I'd like to know, follow up with where Max is kind of following with us here.
Yeah, I'm following along. This is great.
Cool. So,
So the wallet, the GUI wallet is gonna get released today, or
It should be, yeah. We're waiting for the current bottleneck in our web development process, Joshua Wong
Because
Caparros in
I
Spain.
still have a pretty big issue with it. When I open the HTTP
GUI wallet?
listener, it
Okay.
still says it always says my IP is not reachable by the internet, but I know it is.
Yeah,
I use it every day.
Yeah, just send me that or send it straight to Duck. Actually, that's better, and we'll get it in the next.
I told him, but he said it was working fine and to open by port. But I know it's working.
Well, you know what? Hold on. Let's do this. Create an issue in GitLab and send it to him.
He doesn't have. There's no GitLab for the GUI.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We discovered earlier that we need to have him get a
But-
GitLab going. So let's have him get a GitLab.
Where do I?
Let's-
In what do I post it? The
Why
server?
wouldn't the GUI, if it's an official part of our project, be maybe it's not official, but if it is an official part, it should be hosted by Epic Josh's GitLab.
Yeah, it should. It's just Duck was working by himself and he didn't use GitLab, and now we agreed that he's going to, and everybody's going to.
oh, hold on. Let's back up.
Okay.
That's his code, right? He's the developer.
Right.
It would be great if he hosted it within the GitLab, but we cannot force an open source project developer to put his code within the GitLab
You
repository.
can just
Even more
fork his
so, he
code
could just make
on
it a private
GitLab.
wallet.
Right?
You can make it a private wallet and not have a closed source code if you wanted to, but you can't release it as an official thing and then say this is officially ours if it's not.
Correct. Right?
So those things should be differentiated specifically.
Yes. Right. And this is the point of open source community development, is that there's official things that are done by the core group of people that all work together under a certain rubric, and then anybody is free to develop anything they want on their own using that code. That's open source. That's the license that it's built under, right? So if Duck wants to bring it in, great. That's where it should be, I think. But it's up to him, you know? Just laying out the rules of development here, right?
I'm not your lawyer. Again, who are you in Telegram? Sorry.
Oh, I'm Jason Seibert.
Oh, okay. Hey, Jason.
Hey.
Hey
All right.
guys, it's Randy here. I just wanted to
Hey, Randy.
say hello to everybody. Good to hear everyone's voices. Thanos, I want to agree with you. My wallet's doing the same thing.
Okay, great. It's not only me.
Okay, good. Yeah. So then this is
Let me
now.
just back up for a second. So when I'm talking here in this forum, or when I'm talking in any of the Telegram groups, I'm talking not only as as a board member of the foundation, but also as its general counsel and member of the community. So that's where I'm coming from, and that's the information that I'm bringing. If y'all didn't know that was the case. So.
Yeah, and I'm complaining, and I do stuff too.
You know, the success of our launch, and I know that we're focused here on problems and things that we don't view that we've done successfully, but I got to say, for a 2-week-old project, we sure have made a lot of strides, and I'm very proud of us. You know, it's important to not lose sight of that. One thing that has come up though is people starting to do the math on the dev fee and going, like, you guys are going to have a lot of money here, and you know, tell me this, tell me that, and what's it all about? And so I feel it's time. Jason, let me know if you don't agree, but I feel it's time, just because we're getting the questions and I find myself answering. It'd be easier to just like decide what we're going to do as far as telling people about the foundation and you know, the role, get a new website. There was just a placeholder quickie thrown up. Tio Arcane Bear volunteered to work with me on that, and I think I'm going to take him up on it because I've been kicking the can down the road for a while. But I'll just describe here so everybody knows, because you're going to start getting these things too. The Epic Block, and Jason, correct me if I'm wrong on any of this stuff or should phrase it differently, but the Epic Blockchain Foundation is a duly registered Wyoming nonprofit organized as a foundation. The foundation has no office. It has no staff. No employees, no overhead. I mean, it's just a vehicle for collecting that dev fee, reporting any obligations and paying any taxes and everything, and staying extremely lean and not wasting these coins. It is a nonprofit, and we're not beholden to investors. There was a little bit of money to get us where we are that needs to be respected, but nothing on the scale of what these other projects like Beam, as an example, are taking, or Zcash paying off the early investors, and that's causing all kinds of problems 4 years later. So governance and project funding have really gotten under a spotlight just in the past 3 months, and I think we made the right choices in a lot of respects. So basically, of the members of the foundation, I don't think we want to make too big a deal of this, but there's me, and I'm anonymous, but Jason and our treasurer, Cahal Hahian, aka Putrid, he's our treasurer, are on the board, and they're transparent. So I wouldn't say it's heat, but people are asking the question. And you know, the goal of the foundation, just in terms of communication strategy, we are not going to say anything ever. Like, for example, when Chainrift added, we can say, hey, Chainrift added. No fanfare, no like, this is great, go buy, whatever. Just like, here, we're re-forwarding the link. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Anything we say creates an attack surface for adversaries of any stripe, maximalists, regulators, people with a grudge, whatever, to take us down. And so we are going to speak very softly through our actions, and we're going to increasingly demonstrate that the purpose of these dev fees is actually toward the good of the project, and just be really overwhelming in stuff like giving away coins to new users, targeted promotions and stuff like that, point of sale adoption. I know you guys wanted to hear about this, so I'll go off track a little bit. So basically, we're running a test here pretty soon in Uzbekistan. Why Uzbekistan? Because it's a really small place, and I want to not have the results spill over into other areas. Tron got 30,000 people to join its main Telegram group, which we certainly will not do. We would direct them to some other kind of Telegram group, you know, just as like a filtration system. Join this, you know, DM your wallet info, and we'll send you a coin, or, you know, 0.1 coins or whatever. We want to give like $1 at a time to people where that matters, and just get the coin out into first hundreds, then thousands, then tens of thousands, then hundreds of thousands, and ultimately millions of hands. And the reason for that is a phenomenon called network effects that we've seen in Bitcoin and telephones and mobile phones and other networks, where you can actually prove mathematically that those giveaways are accretive in value. They generate more value for everyone, both short and long term, than the cost of them. So you really have to kind of flip the math and the way of thinking about it. And if you go back to the early days of Bitcoin, people like Brock Pierce were literally sprinkling USB sticks with, I think it was 25 or 50 BTC on them. I mean, it was pennies at the time, but it was a lot of money. It's a lot of money now. And now, of course, Bitcoin isn't doing that anymore. And so I think we need to put a little bit of effort into telling the foundation story just to address the questions. But really, we're going to speak through our actions and go do the tree planting and the beach cleanup and the sign up a merchant, get X dollars worth of Epic Cash, and just really go and grow the network. Specifically, what we're going to do in terms of point of sale adoption, Robert Perzepany in Poland has been working really hard, and I've been talking with him almost daily for months now. He has a service that will enable people to send via SMS and email, and then also link their credit card, where it uses the authentication of the credit card at the point of sale to just basically identify which Epic wallet is there and generate the transaction, and then enable the merchants to bypass the expensive old credit card system and send the transactions through Epic for free. So those examples of point of sale innovation, and there's hardware plays. Epic is so light that we can have literally $110 NFC and wireless devices that are all you need for point of sale. I think we're laying the foundation for literally the first African payments billionaire, and he's going to use Epic as his backbone. And we're not trying to
may use Epic as his backbone.
Can I say?
Yeah.
Can I?
That was a lot to take in, but can I just say one thing that's kind of going back to hype and promotion really quick? Like, let's take a look, for example, at the Reddit group we have.
Just so you all know, this is the first I've heard we have a Reddit group, and
There's
that's probably an
2,000
issue.
users in there. There's
I'm going to go
yeah.
take a look now.
Yeah,
They're
no,
all-
there's
They're all
2,000.
bots, though. Jack thought he was being slick and added 2,000 bots, and I mean, do we clean them up? I don't know, but 2,000
Yeah.
people is the correct
It
number.
looks really bad. I mean,
Yeah, no,
it's not
that's
good.
that's the problem with going back to hype and promoting a coin, is it kind of contradicts with what's being said a little bit. I'm just trying to correlate the two, but we have
But, you mean-
bots.
No, we don't have bots. Jack that's part of why he's fired. Jack told me X, Y, and Z, and then turned out that he wasn't X, Y, and Z, and he thought he was being slick in a lot of ways, and I don't appreciate it. And obviously, he's not a part of our team anymore, and we severed ties. That wasn't the only reason, but there were other things like that, where he's a talented guy in a lot of ways, but he brings a lot of bad habits because his main job is with an ICO shitcoin that basically scammed investors out of $30 million back in the height of the boom, and they were smart enough to convert it into dollars and then back into Bitcoin. So they're sitting fat, dumb, and happy, and his job is just to shut down anybody with a complaint that's going, hey, you guys were supposed you guys were supposed to build a gambling system with our investment money. You didn't do anything. How about an update? And they're like, okay, banned for fudding. And so I apologize for the frictions. I've known him online and through some crypto groups, and he does know a lot of stuff, and on that basis it made sense to bring him in, especially when he was talking such a good game about I can do this and that for Reddit and Discord and all that. But it's like, I hear what you say and see what you do, and when he came in, he's just making all the wrong choices that aren't compatible with our culture. And so perhaps that should have been apparent earlier. It wasn't, but as soon as it was, yeah, exactly. But you don't bat 1,000 on your appraisals of stuff either. So back at you.
When all of the people that are admins and the people that are main.
Let's just say that again, Rafi.
When all of our main originating contributors are referenced as trolls that should be banned from the project, I had a bit of a laugh.
Yeah.
Ban Max. No.
Yeah, he was. He talked a good game, though. He really did. I mean,
He's manipulative.
Yeah, and it took a while to see it because Method, when you forward me 700 messages, like, do you realize I can't review all them, and I do the scanning thing. Like, so, like, help me understand what's going on quicker, because I kind of filter out excessive noise when there might not be as much useful signal in there and bandwidth is limited. So, it took me longer than it perhaps could have to see that, but the disconnect was that I was getting mixed signals. He was telling me one thing, and then other people were telling me others, and then I started asking screenshots, and I started discovering that he was bullshitting me. So there wasn't more than 24 hours, okay, I'm not going to put a bullet in somebody before they, it's proven.
It was 4 days, but no worries.
Yeah, but whatever. I mean, like the point, I'm saying no, when it became incontrovertible, that he was
so
lying.
do we create a new Reddit? Okay, so going back to Jason, he just discovered that we have a Reddit. So that's like another problem within, okay, hey, we need a spreadsheet that says, okay, all the Telegram groups, all the people, all the Discord groups, all the Reddit groups,
they're on the website.
We're the mods.
They're on the website. So the only thing
we don't have we don't at this time have a directory of all of the separate Telegram groups of working groups of people that I know of.
Right.
Yeah.
So one of the things that Max and I talked about the other day is that from a oh crap, who's saying what, where, and are they doing that on behalf of the foundation through some incentive program or not? As I was very blunt, I said, look, we've lost control of message, and that's a risk vector in many ways, and so, that was the reason for wanting to have the little seminar that I did this morning on communicating a message without putting the entire Epic Cache ecosystem at risk. But also, having 2,000 bots in Reddit, it puts the scam coin tag on us, and nobody wants that. So.
Well, just in case there's some reason we can't clean up that Reddit, I am the admin of another Reddit. There's the Epic Cache with an underline or underscore Epic underscore Cache.
Sure, and that would be fine. Whether we delete the ones that I mean, you know what? Why don't we just post a message on the existing Reddit? Because that one doesn't have the underscore. It's better.
Who's the admin of the Reddit? Because you can delete everything in there and clean it out.
Yeah,
okay, sure. Yeah, I don't know
all the users and just keep like the 10 that are actually subreddit.
Yeah, I don't know who's the admin, but that's a good idea. Let's just blast everybody out and then just say, if you want to add back, go ahead. I mean, because it looks bad when there's 2,000 people and something gets posted and nobody replies. I mean, I figure there's 20 maybe real users.
Yeah, so let's transition from that into increasing.
I don't want to interrupt you, Jason, but now that we have the privilege of having you here, can you explain to me the answer I would give to somebody when they ask me, what does this foundation serve like a purpose for? And because people, of course, are going to be like, why are you getting 8%? And what is the answer that is appropriate to give at that time that does not muddle the waters?
If we looked at the current value of what the foundation has actually received as far as 8% on the current market today, I think that means the foundation has received about $13,000 total dollars in value, of which
no way to reference the dollar value that I'd be concerned, because they're on a no liquidity exchange. But they do exist though.
Certainly they do exist, and the purpose of the foundation as formed as a nonprofit entity is to promote the education and acceptance and adoption of cryptocurrency as an alternative form of payment around the world. So that means,
I've been telling people that it exists to further the project, just in a very one sentence way. Is that appropriate?
Sure, but on top of that, it exists to further awareness of cryptocurrency in general around the world, right? So that means we can do things like educational seminars is one. This is going to sound very boring and dull, but one of the things that I'm working on is did you guys hear about the Texas state legislative bill that was introduced back in January, where it was going to ban all anonymous coins? And
they already did that with OKEX.
I'm sorry?
They did that with OKEX the other day with Monero.
Brett,
That's not a
you're
government though.
that's a private company in Asia that has nothing to do with Texas. So
Right.
I'll speak to what's going on in Asia because I know a lot lot about it.
That is
I can,
scary though, and that does concern me. Incorporating
But-
with
yeah,
because
but
there needs to be certain words changed, like you
South Korea
said.
doesn't have a First Amendment. That's a whole different.
Say
Jason,
that
hold-
again.
Brett,
South Korea does not have a First Amendment, so the regulatory environment is entirely separate.
guys, stop. Let me just tell you, okay? Because Jason's talking about something that is extremely positive, and what I will tell you will make you absolutely not worry ever again about this issue, okay? So hear what Jason has to say because it will shock you, and then you'll believe what I have to say, not only about Korea, but about our technology and how it delivers privacy, not anonymity. And what governments really have a problem with is anonymity, not privacy. So let's let Jason give his really good news, and then
Jason, shock us.
Yeah, and then I'll tell you the Korea story.
So let me just preface this by doing any work with a legislator means it's a long process and involves multiple phone calls. I've done impact litigation before, and I've advised legislators on the state, federal, and international level, and have been able to help get laws set up that are favorable to cryptocurrency, right? So I've drawn my attention to Texas because I'm here and the representative that actually introduced that bill. And by the way, it's only a bill introduction. It was never passed into law. It's stalled in committee, okay? But if you read that proposed bill, what it talks about is that the state of Texas was going to say that only verifiable identity coins could be used, and that the state should promote and use verifiable identity coins. All right. Now, the fact is, Epic Cash meets that description. Hey, Max, can you mute your mic? There you go. So Epic Cash meets that description based on the way that Mimblewimble does transactions of sending a transaction file, sending a receipt, and doing a confirmation. And I can go into, and I'm trying to schedule with the Texas State Legislature, the idea that Epic Cash and any of cryptocurrency that meets this technology and does it this way does satisfy their rules and regulations to have it be accepted and be the preferred cryptocurrency of the state. I haven't been able to do that yet, but those are valid foundation activities of supporting that, of whatever efforts it takes in order to get that bill in that says that Epic Cash is the one that actually satisfies this bill. Instead of freaking out about it, like the entire crypto world did, Epic Cash solved that and moved forward. And that's the message that moves forward. Now I'm trying to control that message, and I don't want that to go public because I don't want to create an entire shitstorm, because I found out that the people that mandated or helped try to support that legislation to begin with, that manipulated that state senator, are all in Austin, Texas, and they're working to try to get rid of coins like ours without actually doing the education. And so I had a nice conversation with staff, said, look, I can help you draft this bill. I can help you get it back on the table. I can help you, work it to where it's actually a viable solution and does what needs to be done. But at the same time, want to talk to them about how with just a few word changes, you can do this. And by the way, coins like Epic Cash and Grin and Beam, these satisfy this, whereas Bitcoin and Ethereum, these ones do not. And basically trying to run an end around this legislation and have it work to our favor, right? So you ask what role the foundation has. I absolutely see the role of the foundation in obtaining favorable legislation for the coin to exist and be preferable. Does that make sense?
I'm not your lawyer, but I'll agree with you.
Jason's fine.
Yeah, no. So one of the things about the privacy thing is also the way sending and receiving. It's, I thought it was going to be a little bit more secure in a sense, whereas, we're sending transactions via public IP. Is there any?
You don't have to do that though.
I know you don't have to do that, but most people are going to be doing that as opposed to having like a wallet address.
There's nothing insecure about that either. It's just sharing of messages. And the reality is it travels through using the Dandelion protocol. It travels among so many nodes. It's kind of like running a Tor network.
All right, but if I'm
Very hidden.
The sender is
online,
anonymous,
if I'm-
but
if-
not the receiver.
Hold on, guys. Let's just back up the message for a
if I'm
second.
online buying drugs, right, like fentanyl,
Okay. Keep going with your hypothetical.
okay, so you know, with Bitcoin and Monero, which I know specifically Wall Street market accepted, you know, you would typically want to go with a more private coin like Monero and you know, have it not be able to track back. Bitcoin obviously is trackable with, you know, AI assistance and NSA and all that. But with going one-on-one with an individual, let's just say, for instance, that situation occurs and it's just a privacy concern. I'm just bringing up a hypothetical, and you're online and you need some sildenafil pills for your dick or whatever, and you know, like, and you're sending your IP to somebody or vice versa. It's kind of like, no.
So
The sender IP is hidden. It's the receiver IP.
So let's just.
But the receiver would never share their IP with somebody that they did not want to reveal themselves to. That's why the messaging system exists. They could use make a Telegram or something along those lines, Keybase account to be able to transfer using message exchanges without revealing identity.
So let's
hold on, guys. I was on mute here. Let me just jump in here. So I think we're missing one key point. The way that I think about this in my own mind, as I've been trying to wrestle with this the past week or two, when it's really been on my mind, is that even if you do use the IP method, you still have to communicate that somehow outside the blockchain, and all of the existing law enforcement and surveillance stuff applies to that. So it's entirely consistent to say, well, you know, you guys can spy on the way that people, you know, if you meet in person, if you send them the IP some other way, like, you know, you can de-anonymize very effectively, because who else would you be sending IP addresses and ports to, you know, and then like go in and check the physical stuff in the wallet. I mean, so like that, there is no loophole here that I can see, really.
Loophole in what way?
No, I mean, like, law enforcement ability to surveil and regulate is still unimpeded because all of their existing spy tools work. They don't need to peer into the blockchain to spy on people, because with anonymous coins, they're truly anonymous and you lose the ability to peer inside. But because Mimblewimble is a blockchain that stores data, plus you need to use existing communication methods to either exchange files or communicate IP addresses and ports. In both those cases, you know, the spy tools are already there, so they can just be gotten another way, and that's a beautiful thing, because our coin is not
that can supports the ability to communicate privately. PGP's been
but nobody uses that, and if they want to outlaw PGP, then they should do that. My point is
they have a hard time doing that. They already tried.
Hold on. We're kind of coming off the rails here. The differentiation in here is, yes, method. Epic Cash is not simultaneously private and anonymous. It's not. It's not. And it's not designed to be. Epic Cash is private, meaning when I share a transaction with someone, what gets recorded is only that transaction, and not the source, not how much other Epic Cash I have in my wallet, not all the other transactions that I've done in my life. It's nobody's business how much money I have in my mattress, right? But you do have to at least do a one-on-one communication with someone that says, I'm going to send you some value, and the person has to recognize that they're going to receive it, and then the other person has to confirm it. So
at any point in time, however, like, I've done 4 transactions on the receiving end, and those people now know my IPs until my ISP basically
But you don't need
changes
to
them.
do it that way. You can learn how to use the
I
message.
know, to do the text,
method.
like the text file and stuff. But what I'm saying is,
within the transaction file, your IP address is not in there.
There should be in the wallet like some sort of transformable way of sending a text, the text file within the wallet to the end user without the IP. In a sense, like I don't know. I don't know yet.
So what you're proposing is a modification to the wallet that masks the IP address of the sender?
Of the person receiving it, obviously, but the sender will also see it.
Hold on, guys, because this is
Or the receiver will also see the sender.
This is something that's already solved, and I'll just tell you what the answer is. Sorry, it's a little windy, but I'll be in the car in a sec. So here's the deal. There's a service called Grinbox that enables you to recreate the concept of addresses. And then if you look at what Stellar has done to integrate with Keybase, we're doing that same thing too. So Robert's service or Robert's stuff that he's working on will enable you to send Epic over SMS, email, Keybase, and then Telegram. We're saving that for later to be like, oh wow, it's just not, it's almost there, but we're just gonna leave it. So initially SMS, email, and Keybase, that means like nobody needs to know who you are and your IP. They just need to be able to send an email or an SMS
and it
or a
works
Keybase,
great. I've tried it.
It works great, and it's already done. So we just need to pull that in and merge it, and then we're good, and we have killer new functionality that other teams don't have.
And it's not that complicated to be able to set that up. You just have third-party relays, and they're using a system that we've already created that already exists. It's a fundamental part of Epic, which is the messaging system.
I have not set up the Epic GUI wallet yet, but in order to set it up, do you have to type in a password before you actually get into the wallet GUI?
Yeah, your password.
So there's two different ways that you can do it. If it's a brand new install and it's on a machine that's never had the wallet or the node or anything else like on there, it'll install a standard wallet TOML that will search for an external IP in order to get the server node and block heights externally. Yep. If you have an internal server that's set up and you already have a wallet TOML that was created, all you have to do is when you launch the GUI, type in the password for your local wallet, and all of your data locally loads and runs automatically. You don't have to do any reconfiguration that way.
Okay, cool. I'm just thinking of other ways to anonymize this, because the IP thing is still sketchy. Like if IcePool were
so hold on. Why do you want anonymity? So and your hypothetical was based on doing an illegal drug transaction, right?
Right. You don't want a transaction of logs in your wallet stating,
but
okay,
you're responsible for your anonymity, and you can achieve that by whatever means you have already available to you with other systems.
You can just rent a $3 VPS and use it to receive your money and then send it to yours. I mean,
or you can send messages using an encryption system like PGP that's like 30 years old.
The last
but that hasn't been implemented yet, so we're only looking at the text file and the IP for right now. So obviously,
right. But from a community standpoint, the last thing Epic Cache wants to do is say, you can use Epic Cache to buy fentanyl.
No, I of course not. I'm just
right. What the Epic Cache community needs to say is, hey, we're a privacy coin. For everybody out there that doesn't want the government to know what's inside your mouth.
Hold up.
With state, federal, and local regulations to be able to be used by merchants, because at their end point, they can still say, well, I need to know who you are before you send me money. Great, I can show them my ID before I send them my Epic Cache. I can do that, but it doesn't give them access to how much wallet money is in my wallet, and doesn't show them every transaction I've ever done. And that's why, right? That's why I can go to the state, or I can go to the Fed and say, this doesn't bypass your existing infrastructure.
And at the same time, using pre-existing capabilities and protocols, MethodX can reach the ultimate dream of whatever fentanyl or anything he wants to do.
But that's on him. That's not inherent within the protocol that allows him to violate law.
But
Right.
using third-party software, he already has these capabilities, and so it's not like he's not. This is not something that the project needs to implement. It already exists naturally.
Well,
If it's a one-on-one and it's a trap, though, and the person that is basically sending the fentanyl is the U.S. government, and they're trying to entrap you, for instance, they're getting your IP, they're getting your SMS, they're getting your, your PGP, in a sense, but they can sort of backtrack.
hold on, guys. We're getting down the rabbit hole here in an area that I need to say like how I feel about it. It's incumbent upon us as a community to say that while some people will want to use our money just like dollar bills or Monero or whatever else to do illegal things, this is getting dangerously close to actively facilitating that stuff through thinking it through. And I think it's really bad for our project to have any association with illegal stuff. And the longer
all I'm suggesting is a privacy theoretical, as in, okay, so bad guy versus good guy. Like, I'm not trying to go down that rabbit hole at all. I'm just simply stating, okay, there's a situation here where your IP is exposed, for instance, and you're doing a one-on-one transaction kind of thing, and now that IP is stored on this person's other.
Hold on. Let me jump in. The only scenario in which your IP is exposed is either when you're sending directly to an IP, right?
Which is what ICE
No,
is doing.
just receiving.
No.
Sending, you don't show it.
Right. Or if you happen to attach a transaction file to an email because you don't give a crap if somebody has your IP or not, right? You're trying to create a scenario that I don't think matters, right? I wouldn't call
an anonymous user account in a messaging system to be able to send transaction files back and forth. That moots all of this. It's incumbent upon how the user uses the system, not for the system to provide it for you.
The code itself is not an anonymity coin. I don't think we should ever call it an anonymity coin.
Yeah.
It's a privacy coin. Okay? And there's a difference between the two. And the more we can latch on to that and get buy-in from, the guys with the guns, and position ourselves to be that comfortable coin for merchants, then that's the market that is yet to be tapped within the crypto world. It's the dream, right? Of adoption by merchants on a global basis.
Reading some of the community posts, just I guess over the last few weeks, I guess other people have kind of expressed my same concerns as to like, why is your public IP shown? Why is it in the node? Stuff like that, kind of, like.
When you run a node, when you operate a node, you're going to have communication between the different peers. If you want that privacy, you can't run a node.
Right.
Then don't run a node, right?
Like you don't run an exit node on Tor if you don't want to have all of the traffic flowing out your public IP address.
There's a difference between using it as a currency and being a node and supporting the network, right? Those are two different things.
I'm just trying to make a comparison between Epicash and like Monero, basically, like what it kind of comes down to in privacy, anonymity, and you doing one-on-one transactions versus a wallet address that goes through many different funnels. Monero's been around for a while. They're already removing it from certain exchanges. And you don't want to use, I get it, you don't want to use the word anonymity, or that you want to use privacy, but in a sense, how do you market that versus anonymity? Because I'm having trouble kind of understanding that, and it begs the question as to, okay, well, what is the real difference? It's just a different opinion of terminology almost.
Look, when
separate definitions.
When you go to the grocery store and you buy a candy bar with a $5 bill, how much more money you have in your wallet is nobody's goddamn business. Agreed?
You can't see that in Monero though.
Yeah, but
Sure you can.
you can actually.
Can you?
Yeah.
Sure you can. Yeah.
Okay.
So the difference is, sure, you're going to do a transaction. Somebody wants to know who you are. We don't prevent people from revealing their identity. We don't.
Okay.
Right? And for somebody like the state of Texas that says, no, if you're going to deal in cryptocurrency, there has to be verifiable identity.
Okay.
Great. I'll walk into the courthouse every day of the week and twice on Sunday and love the fact that they're accepting Epic Cash, because somebody can use their mobile wallet to give it right to the court right then and there. They check their ID and everything's fuzzy, right?
Okay.
But that court doesn't get to know what's in my mattress.
All right.
Right? And that's the difference between anonymity and privacy. And that key distinction is pretty important.
I got you.
Sure, you want to use it in a way that obfuscates origination and everything else. That's on the user to do that. But we're not going to give a guideline or a recipe how to use 15 different Tor servers bounced off a fucking satellite over Saudi Arabia in order to make a transaction to buy, dick pumping medicine, right? I mean, that's just, or whatever it is. That doesn't need to be published by anybody in the foundation or anybody in the project. That just shows that we recognize that those tools exist. But that,
You would hope that not whatsoever by anybody. Like, you don't want to have the darknet websites explaining how to set up your Epic Cash server privately.
This is what I was referring to earlier. I mean, I think it's incumbent on us as a community to take a stance that when somebody does do that, we don't go, hey, cool, let's share this around. We go, you know what? Like, thanks, jerk. Like, you just put us all at risk. You got to, stop dealing with it. We can't censor it, but we certainly, we can frown on it. It's like, those people are hurting our cause, and so let's not give them extra attention as they do their harmful stuff.
And that's a perfect explanation as to, I think, furthering, what Epic Cash is kind of about more so, because, that I've read the community comments over time, and I've seen people saying, well, why is my IP? Why do I have to share it, kind of thing. I think there's that distinction between anonymity versus privacy that needs to kind of be expressed a little bit more. And I know we have plenty of PDFs out there.
You
And
can
one
just
issue is-
ask your ISP for a randomized IP every time you restart your router, though.
but again, the people that are complaining about their IP address showing up are people that are running nodes. And if you're going to run a node, your IP is going to be shown. It just is what it is. But that's different than doing a transaction. And so,
also,
go ahead.
sorry, I don't know if Ice Mining's still on this call. I think I saw it earlier, Greg.
Yeah, Greg's here.
So, one instance here that people might have an issue with, like, in order to get paid out from Ice Mining, there's no anonymity with that, because they do directly pay your IP address to whatever node you decide you want
ICE
to.
already knows everyone's IP for mining on his tool anyway, so I mean.
Yeah. So regardless of that, though, people might be questioning more like, why am I stopping my IP? Because the ability to use messaging or to practice the art of using the trade of the messaging back and forth has not been implemented there.
There's mining and servers and using it as a cache system. There's a difference.
BiHodl also is using listening techniques also. So
if we had services or we had more educational articles to help people understand how to do the trade of the messages back and forth between the sender and receiver, it might help allay those issues. I'm speaking to
We have
those.
those.
There's issues with HTTP. Well, don't use it then. Use the exchange of messages. You can do it through a private medium if you wish.
Yeah, we have those tutorials up already.
Okay, so they're like the HTTP showing is just a lack of knowledge on how, if you're running a node, you're going to be showing your public-facing IP.
it's the easiest
But you
way to
don't have to do
receive.
that to transact.
Right. It's the easiest way to receive, though, if you're doing it one-on-one. It's just a matter of, well, does somebody have to make a text file and then email it to you, and then you have to open it? Otherwise, it's just
In this GUI wallet, it's drag and drop. It's very simple to implement these things.
Okay.
Like to practice it, but that's a different story anyways. But you have a lot more user anonymity / privacy if you're using the exchange of the messages. That feature is inherent to our system already, so I don't think there's any more.
I don't know, between Duck and Max and I and Putrid, we create transaction files all the time and just send them to each other in Telegram.
I'm just wondering how in the future with exchanges and payouts and that kind of stuff, if there's going to be some sort of, I don't know.
That depends on the pool, I mean, or the exchanges. It's up to them to choose if they only allow HTTP or file and HTTP. It's not the dev's fault or the coin's
Like
fault.
for instance, TradeOgre, there's no KYC whatsoever for using them. They're like the very shadiest exchange I can think of.
Which
And
one?
they
Well,
TradeOgre.
TradeOgre, but
And they exchange with
Shad.
messages. They choose to do that because they're a user anonymous focused place where many places are not going to be hide your ID. And
But what's the point? They already have your IP if you're on the website. So what's the point of hiding it?
You can VPN it.
I think I've been trying to speak kind of to MethodX's wishes that there be a more direct anonymity in the project built into it.
Yeah, I'm just thinking kind of outside the box of what happens if it happens. Just theoreticals. I'm not saying whatever.
I would recommend that any dark market that sets up any user that's sharing their IP address with the dark market for receiving maybe is not so intelligent to be doing such a thing.
Well, just from a legal construct, any person that's involved with the foundation or wants the success of Epic Cash to be recognized as a legitimate peer-to-peer merchant solution in the future needs to just not encourage, educate, or promote the use of Epic Cash in any dark market, right? We can start just with that rubric, right?
It needs
As
to
soon as
be
that happens, it takes you down the
dispersuaded.
road of Monero's publicity is that it's used in dark markets.
Yeah.
And
And
once you go down
let's-
that road, then you
let's-
get the OKX and everywhere else, and you have problems.
And strategically, that's extremely useful for us as a blocker. They embrace the darknet coin vision. Great. I wish Monero the best of longevity and success. I hope they get 100% market share in darknets. And so I would even take it a step further and say that not only is our job not to educate people about how to do that type of stuff, but it's our job to actively educate people about why it would be colossally stupid for darknets to use our coin. It's just not suitable for their business purposes. The other technologies are better. So I think part of telling the story about privacy versus anonymity is protecting us from getting any traction as a darknet coin, because there's no upside there and only a lot of downside. And
There's
so
a lot
I
of
hope-
legalities there that you're gonna.
well, it's optics. It's bad PR.
Yeah.
You know, Bitcoin. I mean, I tell people I'm into Bitcoin, and they're you know, it's like saying I'm into child porn or something.
Hey,
I mean,
porno. I was gonna say.
so, you know, it's become drug dealer money, terrorist money, and you know, name your other bad guy of choice money. And so our brand is pure and comes with an emotional resonance that appeals around the world, the word epic itself. And I think we need to protect that. And Bitcoin will continue to be receiving the slings and arrows from the banking system and establishment media. And we can just continue to quietly build our actual utility in commerce and, you know, not take on the controversy of Bitcoin in any way. Let's let Monero be the darknet coin, and let's let Bitcoin be sort of the lightning rod for the big money, and we'll just quietly do our thing and help Africans and South Americans and developing Asians connect with the rest of the world.
Right, and where this conversation started was, you know, what can be said about what the foundation is doing with the dev fees, and how we went down this rabbit hole was that one of the legitimate purposes of the foundation is to spread the use and education of cryptocurrency throughout the community, And one of those methods is through not only avoiding legislative exclusion through oppressive legislation that kicks us out, but getting legislative adoption where we turn it around and say, not only should you not kick us out, but this should be the accepted form of cryptocurrency and allowed to move forward instead of others. And so that's the, just an example of what the foundation is going to be doing. So not only promotion in the community, but also through regulatory and legislative adoption instead of exclusion.
Let me just tie this off about Korea. So we have a regional representative, Joseph Kim from Blockchain Solution or BC Solution, and his associate John Kim, and I've been talking really closely with them, and so I got the inside scoop on the Korea deal. So Korea doesn't have any problem with privacy coins. They have banks that control the government just like every other country, and so he told me that when OKX delists, makes a big deal of it, 3 other exchanges go and add it. He's like, watch, in a couple of days, weeks, whenever, there's going to be 3 that add, and it's the same shareholders behind all these exchanges. These are like connected guys, Cayman hedge funds, and Panama Papers type stuff. So basically, the Korea thing is a non-issue. It's kabuki theater. It's optics and virtue signaling, and Korea doesn't block with VPN. It's not China. Korea doesn't have capital controls, or it does, but it's not the same as in China. And Korea is really a strong supporter at the government and societal level of blockchain and cryptocurrency, because they're secure enough in their power that they think they'll be able to make it through and not have their society's harmony threatened by the banks. They have a little bit of a different economic structure based on the chaebol of giant conglomerates that work very, very closely with all the other institutions in society. It's different than here. So anyway, Korea is a non-issue. They 1 gets taken away and 3 get added. And meanwhile, the march goes on. And so I did get quite a bit of direct from the horse's mouth, like I was there at the karaoke bar kind of conversations by the people who are responsible for that type of stuff. 1 or 2 or 3 degrees removed, of course, but it's enough to get the sense of it. And so stuff like that is just theater, and really it's that type of stuff we can do, that like we can't be hyping, but we certainly can fight FUD. And when people say, oh, Korea, OKX, privacy coins, you're gonna die. Well, no, let me tell you how you don't have it quite so right. And so particularly for platforms like Facebook and Reddit and other forums like that, that type of education is really really effective. So that's the update on Korea.
On Digibytes, is Digibytes secure in a sense to, like, how do you send transactions with Digibyte?
It's the same as with any other blockchain, but Digibyte is not a privacy coin.
Okay, well they state privacy.
You know what? Maybe they have some kind of mixing or nodes or optional privacy or something. But there's an easy way to find out. Just if you can go to Decred Rich List, and it comes up with a list of top 10 wallet addresses or whatever, then you don't have any privacy. If you have transparency, basically, if a crypto has an address, you can track that address and do all the other analytics to it. So, I mean, I think they may have done Dandelion or something, but that doesn't change the fact that if you are in Brazil and your neighbor discovers that you just got $1 million in Bitcoin, you are going to be kidnapped. That's just the fact of life. It is dangerous for human health to be rich in certain countries when everyone can peer into your wallet. And we've seen countries like Venezuela and Ukraine and China all over just go and relentlessly target people that had any kind of money, and squeeze it out of them. So that's another advantage. If you want to know about Digibyte, Val Freeman put together a great guide that compares Digibyte and Epic, so that can educate things.
I just posted the Digibyte core wallet in Telegram. Look, I just wanted to take a look at this. So if Digibyte is privacy secured in a sense, and there's a pay to wallet address, I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this. It's
Yeah,
like
Digibyte-
IP versus wallet address.
It's not private.
Digibyte it's not private. It just has multi-algo. That's all.
Let me get back to you on that because I'm kind of reading something different. But
Let me ask the question. What's your comparison? Why are you bringing up Digibyte?
Max sent me something on Digibyte a few weeks ago comparing Epic Coin to Digibyte. It was in a PDF, and I didn't really understand the comparison, but other than basically, okay, it's essentially the same thing, but you can kind of mine.
Yeah, no, hold on. I'll just tell you. So I just researched it. Okay, so Digibyte has Dandelion. That's it.
Yeah.
So
Right.
that doesn't do you any good. People can still watch your wallet addresses. Like if you want to try to send anonymously through Digibyte, you can. So Digibyte has the worst of both worlds. No privacy, but it has optional anonymity, which is a way to paint a target on your back. First of all, anybody who uses that, unless privacy is baked in at the base layer like we do it, Zcash mixing systems or Monero with the rings, all these other approaches to privacy, Dash with the master nodes, all these other approaches to privacy involve compromises. And the biggest one is that if it's not 100%, like Zcash is only 12% shielded as an example, Dash is much even less. And so that brings what's known as the anonymity set way down. Like people think Monero is untraceable. No, it's extremely traceable. FireIce UK has been telling me just a PhD level education of how this stuff works and zero knowledge proofs and all this. He's a hardcore guy, and he's like, here is how I can get Monero down to 11 people, and from there it's an easy hop to figure out which 11 you are.
So is there no real cryptocurrency that's actually private?
Us,
So hold on. There's the definition of privacy is
Anonymous.
no. So there's privacy from a code level and there's privacy from a user activity level, right? Agreed?
That's right. Monero is traceable by metadata. They use...
Right. And so Epic Cash is private to a certain extent. And if I only want to transact with people that aren't going to make me show them ID, I can do that as well with Epic Cash. However, it's not required. Privacy and total anonymity is a combination of code activity and personal activity as well. So unless you have those two combined, it's damn near impossible to be completely private and anonymous.
I guess my biggest concern is just pool payouts or exchange payouts and them having your IPs kind of thing. Like if we're really going to get down into the nitty gritty of it, I guess that's where I'm macroing the big picture on it is if you're receiving.
That's a mining decision though, right? That's not a user decision. That has to do with mining.
Well, if you're buying off an exchange and you have a wallet, you need to receive it somehow.
I don't have to receive it direct IP.
From the current exchange, yes, but it's up to the exchange, not up to the coin.
Yeah.
What about using emails? We can use email system to exchange
You can
messages.
use any level of privacy you like, including PGP.
Look,
I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
Sure, let's look at it functionally speaking though, right? Let's say somebody jumps into an exchange and they want to buy some Epic, right? Now, hopefully they want to buy it because they want to use it within a merchant system, and that's great. But the reality is right now, today, nobody's buying Epic in order to take it off of that exchange. They're buying it from a speculative deal and it never leaves the exchange. It's just bouncing back and forth on wallets. Right now, if somebody actually wants to use it in a merchant application, which doesn't exist right now, then great, they can. And maybe by then there will be a different solution for how Epic gets off of that exchange and does it in an anonymous fashion. But I think that's our job to request an exchange to do that. That would be a user base that says, look, I don't want to receive it direct IP. I want to receive it via transaction file via this communication method.
Right.
And
Right.
then you would
So
only need a
you're-
Proton Mail
you're
account,
trying to-
and you have anonymity. You
Right,
have the
and so
potential of
you're-
anonymity with Proton Mail.
Yeah, so you're trying to build in and solve a problem that isn't the code's problem to solve, right? That's where personal anonymity comes in.
Yeah, it's a user experience type of problem, but
And the
Any
question
user
is
that
whether
needs anonymity and needs OPSEC can handle that on their own. There's plenty of information out there for like taking care of that if you need that. In all walks of life, not just in regards to using Epic Cache.
I'm just saying, if the government were ever to like look at, okay, Epic Value is a store of medium, and this person at this address is, you know, showing as a peer on the network or something like that, or you know,
I show as
there's
a peer on the
record-
network, but I'm not mining
Right.
because I'm running a node.
Yeah.
And I'm running a node because I choose to support the network.
I'm going a little bit in circles here, but I'm just playing devil's advocate in a sense, trying to theoreticalize, but yeah.
It sounds to me like you're trying to come up with answers to questions that people have concerns with that they haven't thought all the way through, and they're looking for you to tell them how to operate in the dark net. And I would say, don't do that.
Well, yes and no.
Right? I mean, it's not your
A little
job
bit,
to
a
teach
little
somebody
bit.
how to run in the dark net.
A little bit. I'm more concerned about giving out my public IP or getting.
That's why I had mentioned when you said there was guides and how-tos on how to exchange messages. That's all that is the answer to what you're mentioning. There is no HTTP exchange in regards to a public IP exchange when you're trading messages. That you might do so in an anonymous fashion or not. But you can trade message files very easily. They're just two commands that you put in order to be able to do the exchange and
Do you-
finalize it.
Why
Do you guys
isn't there a
think,
wallet address? Just curious. Like, why? is
Because
it like-
Mimblewimble doesn't have addresses. The concept of the blockchain is different. It relates to the core design. A developer could speak on this more intelligently than I could, but
Well,
essentially, Mimblewimble does not have addresses.
You have
and that is-
private keys that control amounts, but those private keys don't have the addresses and the public keys in a shared with the blockchain. So it is much easier to be able to transact without giving away your privacy. Because
Instead of
you cut those public keys out.
Yeah, you can think of it as instead of a permanent location, like this is my address at my house, you can think of it as I am here right now and I will accept your payment in the parking lot of this apartment complex rather than my upstairs, apartment number 1034 or whatever. I think of it, I think Beam is a great name because the way Mimblewimble works is it kind of just zaps the money, the requirement to both be online at the same time, even if that's not always the case synchronously through the file transfer. At the blockchain level, it is the two sides being online through the confirm and finalize. It just breaks it into two steps. So I look at it as kind of like Mimblewimble just kind of zaps the money like a laser beam. No matter how far away you are in time and distance, it knows that direct path from where you are to where the receiver is, and that's constantly changing. So address is more of a fixed location, and our concept is this is where I am right now. Come give me some money.
And there's no way to go back into the blockchain and peer at the past to do forensic analysis on transactions.
No, Corey, that's not right. There is, but when we
You're
implement
gonna have
something,
to run a lot of nodes, and you're gonna have to record a lot of traffic.
and it's I mean it's like
and then you're only theoretical.
Well, hold on. There's what the CEO of Chainalysis said, which I think is important, just so that people know how good our tech is and what the experts in the field think about it. But then there's the follow-on point. So first, the Chainalysis CEO said, if CoinJoin ever got integrated at the base layer, i.e. what we're doing, we would just have to shut down immediately and go home. So Chainalysis is not a thing in the way we do it, but there is ability to look at, I mean, it would be, you'd need tons of nodes. It's really just orders of magnitude more challenging than in Bitcoin, but it is possible to de-anonymize through the transaction graph. And so what Beam has been working on—
Dandelion++ makes that very difficult. You won't be able to check out the originator. You only be able to find amounts that are moving around.
Yeah,
so
but
you still won't know who's receiving what, where.
No, but Corey, if I send 1,000 Epic, how many transactions are going to be, you know, or the time? Like, okay, it's not the amount, but let's say when I send transactions, you know, like AI is very smart at picking out signals in lots of noise. So let's just say that it is possible to de-anonymize through the replay attacks. That might not be the right word, but that's kind of the concept.
It's trace routing and recording that information.
Okay,
yes.
sure.
But you'd have to have enough control of the network where you don't lose, like you'd be like dinosaur DNA, and you'd have so many holes you wouldn't be able to reconstruct unless you literally ran the network and all the nodes.
Yeah, and if they do that, they're just making us stronger.
Max, stop. Max.
And so by having an algorithm,
hey, you're speaking a whole bunch, but nobody knows what you're saying. So
Max,
dominant play.
stop.
6 million at 50% of global hash power, and that's going to remain the case for a long time. But with GPUs, there isn't that same concentration, and CPUs, there's not that same concentration. And then when we get into other algorithms at the ASIC, it's really ASIC in that PGA.
See, he's walking around on his Bluetooth headset and his phone's in one spot, and he.
I think what Rafi was going to say is basically random X is broken.
No, and you just yell over him.
Yes, just yell over him.
Okay, like the reality though.
Just talk louder. Talk louder. Go.
And other
just keep going, Rafi.
Really brings.
Well, the reality is he really doesn't want to have it known that random X is mineable on like GPUs. Like he wants it to be like that's our CPU algorithm.
That's the same the reality of it. It's complete.
That you can't efficiently mine on a GPU.
It's mineable on GPU, but it's not good.
Very little downside.
No, I don't think it's a concern. I think he just likes the idea of promoting random X only for GPUs and not have that message get out there that you could use your GPU.
Max's voicemail.
Of target every day, despite this increase versus 10. So we've solved that.
Who's the admin on this?
Emma.
The leader will increasingly be going to a
Emma, just
maybe we can get Emma to
him
just
out.
mute him.
Either that.
Emma, mute the boss.
It's like those guys just did it first, but now other coins don't do it.
Yes, please.
Stuff like that. It's starting to get integrated into more and more.
Please.
Yeah, random X is also broken. So I hope that Fire Ice will, because Fire Ice is a Monero, a very wonderful Monero miner.
Hello.
Hey, are you back?
Nope.
Max.
Somebody else is.
Yeah, sorry, Bluetooth problems.
No, Max.
Oh my God.
Max, stop talking. Just stop talking.
You were talking for like 30 minutes, man, and nobody could hear a damn thing.
Oh shit. Okay.
You sounded like R2D2 and C3PO were making a hate baby in the back. So we get what you're saying. Just
we got it.
We heard bits and pieces there.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
And we couldn't get you to stop.
I would like Rafi to continue a little bit.
I mean, the only thing I would put out here is my understanding, I think, is that you're trying to say that it's our CPU mining algorithm, random X's, and that you wouldn't wish or promote the idea that people would use GPUs to mine it. Is that correct?
Yes and no, on my opinion.
Like, I don't think that's an issue. I mean, if people choose to use the worst hardware to mine on something, that's their own prerogative.
I know, but it's not something that. But no, Brett. That's why I'm telling you. It should not be an option because it's retarded. It's a waste of time.
Hey.
Retarded.
Regardless if it's no. Let me speak for a second, Max.
Yeah.
No,
us are
anybody can go out there and they can be as stupid as they want to be. That's their God-given right on this planet. It's not up to code that out of them.
I'm not talking.
Mining is a competitive sport. Mining is free enterprise. Anybody that sets up their own mining colony is setting up their own entrepreneurship. And it's not up to hold their hand, to tell them or dictate to them how to do it the most efficiently.
Reality is that
at one point in time, they're going to have to pick up a goddamn book and learn.
if RandomX on Epic becomes very valuable, it's very possible that 600 hash rate, $500 GPUs will be able to pick up and start mining and compete as very large economies of scale farms would use RandomX on GPUs.
Especially those with free
I don't think that'll
electricity.
happen. I bet you it would be more likely that people will spin up database server farms full of CPUs to mine on RandomX.
The blocks would go a lot faster because you have farms that are just idling their GPUs while the RandomXs are getting mined by $8 Xeons, you know?
Well, that's a difficulty matter. That should be balanced.
No, they're not going to come out faster. No, like look
Only
at
if
the
our
hash rate
difficulty
going-
adjustment algorithm is broken would that happen.
Yeah, but it's not. It narrows out. It balances out in 50 minutes. I watch that very closely. We've been approximately 10% off pretty consistently since launch.
And that would happen just because of the fact that you have constant hash rate getting smashing in, so it's impossible to ever catch up until things slow down.
Yeah, but I mean, there's tweaks that we can do for. I mean, like we can reduce that to be less than 10% off if we want to. But I mean, it's you know, like we're doing over 1000x versus testnet, and to have 10% off in the context of 1000x, if you can do 1000x, that means you can probably do 10,000x, and if you can do that, sky's the limit. So
I would like to speak really quickly to what MethodX kind of was mentioning, and we're both on the same page in regards to mining. So RandomX, like, it's completely broken from the stock miner, where I don't know if it's just different shares being submitted, but there's so many rejects going
50% or more.
And right now, all it's going to take is somebody that's smart, that's a developer, to fix that code and keep it to themselves, which is disadvantaging the rest
Probably
of us.
what's going on right now.
And we need to repair that. So I think that our dev team should be focused on making this as egalitarian as possible for us idiots that don't know how to write code.
What's the issue number in GitLab?
40.
Okay, so
That should be
Well,
issue
it's
number
the one
one.
I wrote.
well, 40.
But-
Okay, so here's an update. 40 is the next front burner after the existing
Cool. API.
Fire Ice one. So you know, just like it was full court press to solve the ICE issue,
But-
which is certainly a higher priority than that. The next on the list is that one. So agreed. And sorry it took so long, but you know, had we had a GitLab issue earlier, we could have put some eyes on it.
Some things have changed though, because of the new release. Those options aren't available in the mining server TOML file anymore in regards to the what's in issue 40. So it worked semi, and I talked to several individuals that had Threadrippers. I talked to Jim Roof. I talked to Hanish Patel. I talked to Cyreg. They all or Cy Craig, I forget his name. They all have Threadrippers, and I have a 3900. I have two 3900Xs, and since mainnet, I have not found but maybe one block. And when I applied this little fix-it patch, all my stales and shares went from 90% basically rejected, you know, between the two on acceptance level, to basically you know, over 75% accepted. And then when the new version was released, the code was removed, and there's now issue 40 is like, well, you can't fix it because that code doesn't exist in the server TOML. So something's wrong with the miner, I think, and they're getting the same rejection stale rate error at the same moment in time. So I don't know if it's a node sync. I don't know, but
it is a node sync. It has to do with the node and how the computer is processing and getting information from the peers. It's not a miner issue. It's the server getting blocks. The reason something gets rejected is because more likely than not, it's too late.
That's a
right?
stale though.
Oh, yes, great. There's your stales. Why do rejects happen?
But I'm not getting
Because of
any
bad data, bad answers that are not verifiable answers. So it's like your GPU or your CPU is puking up fake answers.
Okay. Well, whether that's happening from a server standpoint or a miner standpoint, regardless, go ahead.
I was gonna say I used to get a lot of it took a while to figure out the difficulty levels with the Epic Miner for GPU. I have a Titan XP and 1660 Ti's and 1070s, and I went with 800 million difficulty. And basically, in the end of things, I found out that between TT Miner and just the Epic Miner, just on the GPU level, I had 1,000 acceptances and 1 stale share 0 rejects just with TT Miner alone. So I don't have an answer, and I don't. Things are constantly changing with releases and GitLab issues, and I don't think everybody's looking at the GitLab issues, and I've put them in triage several times, and either people read them or don't read them.
So to break this down to a global conversation, you're talking about faults that you're seeing personally that are impacting you personally that you feel like you're not getting resolution on.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily a global thing, other than to say that you've got an issue and you want a path to fix it, right? I don't know if this conversation,
it's not an individual issue,
it's a global thing.
to have that,
because I've talked to other people that
you're
run
not,
1,000 Xeon servers, and they all have the kind of same problem.
Sure. So this is where I'm coming from. If this conversation and this group discussion is going to turn into how to solve this exact problem right now and get into the nitty gritty code, I'm going to bow out because I've got other shit to do, right?
But it is an eco mining system, and
let's stay on task of the global thing of your issue needs to be communicated and it needs to be tracked and it needs to be solved versus how do we solve it right now on the actual code level, right? There's two different things.
Because maybe we could just have a third-party developer that is willing to work with us that we find, like FireIce, just solve the issue for us, not have the lead devs doing it.
Yeah, that's a good solution. I'll talk to him.
I mean, it's a shitty solution because they're not with an Epic,
but hold on, but hold on. Like, let's get back to the general because I gotta go too. Message received. We know what we're gonna do about it. Let's zoom back out to the bigger issues because we don't need all of us on the phone to dig into
Jason,
nitty-gritty. We can do offline. So, do we have any more?
Jason is
topics,
speaking
or
to the fact that we need to have communication and make sure this information is in the GitLab.
Absolutely, yes.
I know that he just got interrupted. That's where he's going towards.
Thanks. What I wanted to pound on and bring back to the beginning of the conversation is that I see the number one issue with where this network is right now and the issues that it's having is just a failure of understanding of where communication needs to be and where you need to go and how you get feedback on whether or not it's being evaluated or worked on, right? There's a complete collapse in the circle of communication from beginning to end. And I feel that, I know that, right? So the takeaway I think that we have from this is GitLab needs to be the place right now where an issue gets put, or as Yuri said, it needs to go into Epic Triage, and he needs to be tagged specifically on that if you want him to look at something. But at the end of the day, if you want actual action by the dev team on it, it needs to go into the GitLab, right? So we know that, we can work with that. The second part of that was how does that information that's happening with the developers get outside of GitLab back into the community so that we get some sort of feedback that something's actually being done about it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, right. It's nice to know if they're working on something or not. So right now, the only place that we can really go is GitLab because that's where those devs are going to be putting their comments on what they're working on. Now, if you want an update, you can ask for an update, most likely in Epic Triage, and maybe you can get an answer, right? But it should be in GitLab, and all of us as a community.
a public project is not supposed to have a private Telegram group that has 10 members.
Correct.
It should have public answers posted on the public Git source repository. Like I mentioned this months ago. I'm glad this is all there now, because now we can really move forward with like 100% public participation in moving the project forward.
Yes, and that's what we talked about at the beginning of the conversation. So I think the number one takeaway from this is the communication circle needs to be completed and not be as broken as it is.
I did post that URL if anybody can help with it, tinyurl.com/telegram.org, just to get some things filled out, just to kind of start the ignition a little bit, maybe. Just
yeah. The other thing, and good point, the other thing that I proposed was moving the communication to Riot or to Slack or something.
I don't have any problem with that, as long as we figure out what the fuck is going on with Telegram first, and then kind of transition.
I don't think we need Riot, because it's exactly the same as Discord, and we already have a Discord where we can get the team on.
You can do private channels and
Yes, you
have
can.
finite user permission and viewership control in Discord, as well as on our Discourse web form that many projects use solely for development and user communication. So we already have 2 tools that could be used.
Well, let's try to narrow down, the 70 different tools that we're using to maybe a little fewer. It would be my wish. I don't care what it is.
Like Telegram and Discord.
I don't want to use Telegram anymore. Telegram got too stupid.
I think Telegram is still essential in some sense.
Yes, there's 2 channels that are essential, but the major issue is that what I've seen is the balkanization of communication through random Telegram groups with random users added.
Yeah.
Sometimes very important, and those Telegrams having secret information, not intentionally secret, but like it's not public participation.
Yeah,
Well,
like
that's what
the-
I
Like the
said
pool
earlier
one.
before.
Look,
Get the wallet.
I can count at least 37 different Telegram groups that I've been involved in since the beginning of this project. Some of them are still being used, some of them aren't. Really?
Trillions is the best.
I'm in at least 60, and
Right?
there's private conversations in numerous ones that like it doesn't further the communication of the project.
It needs to be consolidated or removed, or we need to move to a different platform, but keep open the public interest in the 2 major groups. And but I do want to figure out Telegram and the roles of people and who's who, and let's get that first going, get rid of the redundancies, and then figure out a way forward after
Guys,
this.
can we leave this for next time? I'm sorry, I've been sitting here at this cold wallet location for 3 hours now, and I gotta go and get the stuff done. And so like we could be here all day. There's an infinite number of topics. We got 3 hours worth of good stuff done.
Max,
11
we
o'clock-
were just wrapping up, and we were just doing a quick summary.
Okay.
If you want to bow out of the summary, then go for it.
Yeah,
Nobody's-
well, no,
nobody's
Brett
keeping you.
Method X, we're talking on Telegram about the idea of Telegram here and what to do about it. So I'm gonna bow out for it, and I'm gonna go deal with the foundation wallet.
Great.
Right?
See you.
See ya.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
This has been really really good.
I'm glad we did this Zoom chat.
This is addressing like all sorts of very long-term issues in this project that I've been watching the train wreck like get worse and worse.
We haven't done a Zoom chat since the white paper days, so this is perfect.
Guys, put together some summary for those who came later. I don't know what was discussed on the beginning.
Mainly
Well,
communication.
Yeah.
For,
And the 3 hours that we've been chatting has been recorded. So
Yep.
Oh,
apparently, if somebody else wants to suffer through 3 hours of listening to people yell at each other about lack of communication,
Yeah,
I think it's going to be hilarious.
I'm gonna look at it on Vimeo.
I'm not sure that this should be made public. That should be something that should be discussed ahead of time also.
No, we're gonna put it in the mining group immediately.
Well, developers want us to put issues on GitLab. That's all.
Listen, if this is a community project and it's not centralized and it's not controlled, we just had an open source meeting where we're discussing developer issues, foundation issues, mining issues. What is the foundation doing? What isn't it doing? What's the progress? What are the milestones? All of these things are things, Brett, that you wanted to be able to talk about what's coming next. I have no problem with it being published. It may not be flattering, but at least it's honest.
No,
We can use forum, old school board. Like we have forum, so we can put information there. So
I mean,
people can read it.
I'm all for transparency myself. So
in privacy.
Also, we can use something like Monero or Eon funding system or voting system. I put the link in the chat.
Oh, that's great.
People can create proposals or ideas.
Yes.
But in Monero and Eon, people can vote for those proposals just by sending coins to specified address or something like that.
Right, that says that they're going to fund it, exactly. And I think
in our case, I don't know if it's a good thing because we have foundation for this.
Well,
what have to vote this way.
I'll just speak to voting for a second. Epic Cash is not a one coin, one vote system. That's Tezos, right? There is no voting infrastructure within Epic Cash because Epic Cash is just a peer-to-peer exchange system.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't have a governance structure to it. I think what I would like to do, or at least help facilitate, is have potentially another Zoom meeting where the people that are involved want to come up with ideas on how a proposal system could be developed and how those proposals are put forward and how people can suggest it and whether or not it gets a thumbs up or thumbs down for adoption or not, and then have that be reviewed by the foundation for legality or whether or not there's even the budget to do it, right? And there are budgetary constraints to things. So,
Jason, do you have any opinion about Decred's Politia proposal system?
I don't have any opinion on that, no. I'd have to take a look at it in depth, but right now isn't really the time to do that. Like I said, I'd want to have a focus group that's on that before
why don't we
trying to commit to anything.
Why don't we keep the people that join the Zoom group, keep that Telegram open? Because everybody that joined the Telegram Zoom group basically was in this meeting. Let's not have anybody leave that because we're all on the same page there. And then we'll set up a new meeting next week or something like that.
Listen, and I'm going to delete this Zoom Telegram group along with 38 other Telegram groups I have. I'm trying to be funny. I'm sorry. It didn't work.
No. Don't delete this one specifically. Let's keep like the Zoom Telegram meeting open just temporarily. Let's just see where it heads, and then next week or in a few days or whatever, if next Tuesday we'll have another Zoom meeting or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, considering, Jason, the trauma that I go through on a daily basis, and when I wake up and seeing the messages on my phone, it's a tasteless joke.
I go through the same trauma, and I don't mute them. There's pings that come in at every minute of every hour of every day.
Yeah.
Because right now at the beginning stages, it's too important.
I do wish
I
do wish Michael Friedman was here though. So, but that's for another Zoom meeting.
Before we cancel the meeting, there's a lot of folks that chimed in, like Ice and Jay Long and Val and Nelu. Can we give anybody the opportunity to?
Yeah, before we wrap up, just Zoom chat group it. We can read it or Telegram.
Hi, you guys. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
Hey, hi.
So,
Good. Hi, guys. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. How is everybody here?
you're good. Trying to wrap this up.
Sorry,
What's going on, man?
sorry, you just talking about mining. I don't understand mining. That's why I am G. I am working in the community, the Arabic community. Just, I just like to say hi. That's all.
And one thing I wanted to ask if in all of these 3 hours, which I was active and listening for only, sadly, for only 1.5, if marketing or community building has popped up as a topic, because it's my area which I'm the most efficient to work on for Epic. So just wanted to see if that was a topic that was discussed or not.
We did not discuss marketing or PR, but that's going to be on probably the next Zoom. We wanted to discuss issues and basically everybody's problems that we're having currently.
Mm-hmm.
Communication, etc. That kind of
Well,
thing.
we briefly addressed when we talk about having a development roadmap and being able to effectively communicate what's under development, what the phase of development is. But what we realized is that it's very difficult to have that face looking towards the public and being able to have an effective distribution of information or distribution of information to the community without really knowing when it's going to happen. For example, the GUI wallet that's going to be released, we can't even get that promoted on the website because the website developer had no idea it was coming. And so we can't really have an effective distribution of information campaign to the community over something that's pretty exciting, right? So there's some broken pieces on the back end that need to be solved before we can really address how to have more of an effective community awareness approach. Would everybody agree?
Yeah.
Basically, when I first started to learn about Mimblewimble and the main competitors, which I call are Beam and Green, logically. So I studied Beam and Green, and one thing I I found is that Beam, well, for you veterans, this is easy stuff, but for me it was quite interesting to see that Beam is more centralized in a way, since it is and it has venture capital funding. But I like the way they share information with the public, and I see that we are
a little behind,
leaning more on the side of Green, right? So I'm not talking about design, I'm not talking about anything, but about just information awareness, just like Jason
transparency.
said. Yes, and transparency. It's not that we want to hide something, no, it's just because we don't use the necessary tools to show everything, that to be transparent. And some people might, just like the Russian video that Max has shared, the narrator has expressed his concerns that our project is not too transparent, and some design flaws that our project have.
Can you share that video?
It's in the Telegram group, I think. Yeah. It's in the Zoom Meet Telegram group.
Okay.
Some of our design flaws, I spoke with a color expert, if you can call her that. Some of our color schemes actually provoke a subconscious. Our used colors associate us with anonymity and privacy, sometimes with bad stuff, and our lack of transparency and complex instructions for many people that are new to the cryptocurrency community, to the Mimblewimble community. Our project will just seem just too hard to understand. I spoke with Bebas last night and a couple of days ago, and Bebas is a pretty smart guy. He's been in the team long, and he told me that just the basic install the wallet instructions or mining instructions for someone that is not, as Jason said, not in
technical.
Yes. They're just too complex, and I think that's an issue that will need to be solved, just like Beam did. I think we need to choose the best of the both worlds, I guess, not being centralized like Beam, but having good content, having great transparency, and great transparency like Beam, but being open
Organized.
source like Grim. Yes. That's just my 2 cents, guys. So
No, I'm on the same page exactly. I'm totally with you there, Nelu.
Yeah, there's even a guy, Cryptofish. He does YouTube videos, and he don't even want to make a video on Epic because it's too complicated for his user base. So
yes,
Is that what he
it's
said
not-
about Epic?
Yep.
Hey guys,
Go ahead.
Matt.
sorry interrupting. I was listening for a couple of minutes about the problem. Sorry not being in the group for all 3 hours. What we are talking about are basically the symptoms of, let me say that in a metaphorical way, symptoms of a disease. The fact that we are a community project and we are community driven slows us down very, very much. We have pretty much talented people in our group, but we don't use them somehow properly because we're a community project and there are not people responsible for different branches or different. And I don't know if it's good, but maybe we should change our way of doing things, not necessarily assigning people to do things and just them, but maybe we should put responsible people on the responsible branches of our Epic, and in this way things will get moving faster and more efficiently.
So I can speak to that. The moment we have some form of centralized, organized structure, we move Epic Cash from a decentralized project where it's not be regulated and we fall into that Bitcoin status of being an investment contractor or security, but to create some form of organization where there's a hierarchy of control where people answer to other people is where we go down the road that we don't want to go. And so this is just a matter of growing pains of a decentralized process. Now, one of the things that I did talk with some of the lead developers about is them setting up more guidelines on how development should proceed. I would like to see not only just guidelines on that, but I would like to see groups. So if your talent is in mining and you want to work on the miner, there's a work group of developers that work on mining, and you can choose to work on those issues as opposed to being asked by somebody to go work on something and doing. I think one of the great things about decentralized projects is that you can choose to work on what you want to work on, but because we're also dedicated to the success of the project, we have a tendency to do things that maybe aren't really our best, right? I mean, I'm a board member and I'm general counsel of the foundation, but I spent a good 10 days doing nothing but testing the node server and the wallet and transactions and how interacting, looking for errors after it came up. Not my strongest suit. I haven't done that in 20 years, but I spent the time. Would I have been more effective being a lawyer and a board member? Absolutely, but I threw my hat in to do that, right? So we sometimes make our own decisions that create inefficiencies, but I think creating maybe a structure that allows people to say, all right, I want to dedicate my time to wallet issues. I now know who to contact or what GitLab subsection to get in to where I can do that and I can be a developer in that, as opposed to getting roped into doing something that's not optimum without creating people being in charge, right? Does that make sense?
We have a list.
Can I jump in and ask a quick question?
Who is that?
This is RL. Can I ask you a real quick question? I've been here for the whole time. I'm just curious about, there's been a lot of talk about the wallet and stuff, but I haven't heard anybody address Mac OS, and has anyone got it to run on there? Because I've been also talking with Duck during the majority of this and trying to help him figure out how to get in there, but I haven't been able to get it to work. I'm just wondering if anybody else has been able to.
I think your problem is the same as mine. My brother has newer Mac with an older Mac OS. He has 10.13 and it's running okay on his Mac. On mine, I have Mac OS Mojave, I think. 10.14.
I'm running Sierra. Which one's your brother running?
Also Sierra, I think.
And he got it to work?
His one is okay. Mine Eden. I was also talking with Doc, and he said that my problem is years old at the moment, so I can't use my wallet on Mac now.
Okay, I was just trying to figure that out.
We tried like 3 hours with Doc, every single combination possible in CMD, and we didn't solve anything.
Okay. All right. Sorry, I didn't mean to interject there, but that was something I wanted to ask.
No, that's okay. And I think what's important, circling it back to the communication issue, is I don't think the two of you knew that you were both working on the same thing.
Yeah.
And I identify that as systemic to some of the issues that have been going on with why we're not as efficient as we could be, that Val's pointing out, and that, you know, the compartmentalization of information for like people to be working on the same problem, they don't even know they're working on the same problem, I see as a problem, right?
Well, we got to get everybody in one channel, wherever it is. Like you said, it doesn't matter where it is, but we all have to be on the same page.
But we have a wallet chat in Telegram.
Yes, we do.
Probably we should just put a list of chats on topics like minor development, wallet development, and so on.
I have that set up already, but I need people to contribute to that.
The biggest problem with the chat is that not everybody is available at the same time, and probably when you see 400 messages, you didn't read all of them as it would be in Zoom chat. Probably we should make some like I think that we should make weekly Zoom chats on different topics. For example,
we're gonna do that.
Yeah, that's the best.
Bulletin board.
Possible.
We have forum.
Whatever comes up on that week, we're going to talk about.
Well,
basically,
I'm
on the
wondering
chat.
if that's the most efficient way, because when we'll have subdomains and domains, it's not a hierarchy, of course, but when we're just going to call each other once a week, we're just going to waste quite a lot of hours discussing for all the bullet points and all the things that happened that week. So my point, my idea is maybe we can do more focused Zoom calls rather than one big Genesis Zoom call like this one was, just to save time and efficiency.
Well, I did have an outline, so to speak, but this is the Genesis Zoom chat that we all wanted to be on the same page, because we haven't had a Zoom chat in months, and we're in mainnet.
This is my first Zoom chat.
Yeah, and the last Zoom chat was 3 months ago during the white paper group, and we had 15 individuals or whatever, and we haven't had one since then. So this is just the beginning. So I get bullet points, and I think prior to the Zoom chats, there should be bullet points specifically that we should issue, and at the same time too, whatever happens that week, that any issues come up, we also talk about in the same regard.
Got it. One thing about that spreadsheet you have about the people and everyone, what is exactly doing in our community. I started doing this some time ago, but Max didn't approve it, so I thought it maybe just let it off. But to see everyone's time zone and when is everyone available. So let's say when I need to do a design with Amalan, I know that his time zone is from now to now, so I know when to reach him. So I think that's maybe.
There's a comment section. We can just put lives in New Zealand, lives in Puerto Rico, wherever.
Well, some folks in the community may want to not share that. So I think if they just put G plus or minus, that might serve the same purpose.
Yeah, again, it's like walking into an office building that has, no labels on doors, and nobody has a name tag, and we need to figure that out, and what everybody's role is first of all, and be on the same page, guys. Absolutely.
But, this is not the first time a decentralized project has faced the issue of community communication and combination of effort to try to maximize time. Because we are so used to working within a structure, a normal corporate structure or a normal development structure, trying to operate within a decentralized and distributed manner from a development and ongoing operational standpoint is an incredible challenge. And it can be frustrating trying to adapt to that. I think once we get some communication stuff down and we understand how to get information back or channel it through the entire community and get some feedback, I think a lot of these frustrations will start to fade as we learn to communicate a little bit better.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Totally
One
agree.
thing I wanted to ask was accountability. So it's
Accountability is tough in a decentralized deal where nobody's being paid and it's nobody's job to actually do something, right?
We're basing it off on a coin that
Right. So let's think about, anybody go to high school and do a group project?
Yep, I'm still in high school.
Right. So you're in high school and you have to do a group project, right? And it's you and 5 of your friends, and your entire grade depends on everybody's effort. And there's always the one guy that gets stuck doing everything, or the one girl that gets stuck doing everything. And the other 4 people or 5 people just sit back and let somebody else do all the work. It's frustrating as hell.
Yes, that's natural, actually, sadly.
Yeah,
But
it happens, right? Except the difference here is it's not a grade everybody's looking for. Hopefully everybody's motivated by the same thing, which is the success of the project. And so if it feels like maybe somebody's not contributing as much or you're not getting as much out of them, instead of blaming for them for that, why don't you ask them what's going on in their life of why they're falling behind or why they're not able to contribute. Maybe like me, I'm in the middle of a tropical storm and my backyard's flooding right now. Right? Yeah. I mean, and I'm taking the time to do this. I mean, I've got water up against my door.
Where are you at right now?
I'm in Houston. Right? Well, only a tropical storm, Imelda. It's no
only a tropical storm. Yep.
Yeah, it's no big deal, right? But the point is, try to meet somebody as a human being.
Oh wow.
Yeah, you just Googled it, didn't you? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna post a picture.
The point is, the show goes on, right?
Well, it's not just that the show goes on. The point is you are working with developers around the world that have other lives and other things that are going on. And the more that you can try to connect with your team and the people that are working on this project to understand what they're doing, you may be able to not only maximize their effort, but allow them to maximize yours as well. Right? And the more you can get off Telegram and stop having asymmetrical conversations talking past each other, and the more that you can set up meetings like this, the more you're going to get more consensus in a faster way. So I'm all for actual communication as opposed to typing shit out on a screen where people read their own things into it. So try to work as a
human side.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I would absolutely encourage you to consider that person that's helping you work on this as a human being.
I tried clapping, but I don't know if that Zoom captures the. Thank you, Jason.
Oh no, certainly.
Yeah,
right.
that was good. Good point.
Yeah, that's a good point.
All right, guys, can we end on that positive, good note?
Yeah, and thank you, Jason, for taking some of the reins here too. I appreciate that.
This isn't my first rodeo. I'm happy to provide whatever information I can, and truly, this isn't the worst project I've seen. It's not. We've seen some bad ones.
That's a good. Hey, let's all go to EOS. No.
Don't
Please
make me
take
say
care of your
BitConnect.
house.
Don't make me say BitConnect. I'm not going to do
No, BitConnect.
All right, guys, be well. Cheers.
All right. Hey, good meeting, Emma.
See ya. That was
Upload.
good.
Yeah.
Take care, all. Thanks for the meeting.
Bye.